Chapter 29-24 Long Fei's Purpose. Chapter 29-24 Long Fei's Purpose. The rich flowed with oil and exploded with more than 10 items. Even a top boss wouldn't drop this many. Long Fei felt really good in his heart. But it was just as the Son of Heaven had said, he had no antidote on him. If there was an antidote, it would definitely explode, and most of these things were useless to Long Fei. Long Fei moved his hand and immediately activated the garbage collection system. Everything has been recycled. Ding. System notification. Recovering 9-ring golden bracelet, experience points plus 308, 4221. Ding. System notification. Recycling of the extreme immortal sword, experience points plus 453, 2220. The sound of recovery notifications rang out unceasingly, and every single one of them had several million experience points less than the experience points he got from killing the Son of Heaven. Long Fei was secretly pleased. I should kill more bosses in the future, especially in Descendant of God's tribe. With more than a dozen bosses, it wouldn't be hard for me to level up. The advantage of the recycling system was that anything could be converted into experience points. No wonder he was killed. No one killed. No experience. Unable to level up. It doesn't exist. With the recycling system, as long as there were many treasures, they would be able to level up as well. Looking at the flying shuttle turning into powder, Long Fei frowned. Without the antidote or the God's tribe's blood vein, if Susu can't save her, can Lan Mai also not? He couldn't help but clench his fists. Icefire said, "Boss, where do we go now?" Long Fei let out a light breath, and said, "Go to Xiao Bai." The ice and fire wings moved. Like a bolt of blue lightning, he instantly dove down. "What do you want? Don't come over. Even if I die, I won't die by a demon beast." Hua Hong did not die from the fall, but rather, was saved by Xiao Bai. Of course, this was also Long Fei's intention. Xiao Bai didn't even look at Hua Hong, and said disdainfully, "TCH, kill you? Don't dirty my lance." Hua Hong asked, "Then what do you want to do?" Xiao Bai ignored him. At this time, when the ice and fire attacks came down, that huge body was even more terrifying. Hua Hong was so scared that his face immediately turned pale, as he curled up and trembled in fear. Although the fire and ice was not a divine dragon, the impact force of the Western dragons was just as strong. Dragons were a powerful and sacred existence to any human. Hua Hong's mental state had been crushed to the extreme, and he couldn't even breathe now. His eyes were unfocused, and he was even more afraid when he saw Long Fei jumping down from the huge dragon's head. He even dared to kill someone from the God's tribe. What else wouldn't this man dare to do? Hua Hong said with great difficulty, "Kid, I don't have the antidote, and I can't concoct the antidote either. If you want to kill me, kill me." "Oh." Long Fei said softly, "You really don't even know how to frown. Then what are you afraid of now? Isn't he looking forward to death?" Hua Hong's expression turned cold. Just now, he had been kicked down by the Son of Heaven. The feeling of falling quickly and dying was too unbearable. It was also the first time he had known what it felt like to die. Death was too terrifying. Only, he knew that he wouldn't be able to live, so Hua Hong said, "If you want to kill me, then kill me." He's really not afraid of death. Long Fei grinned and smiled. He glanced at Binghua and said, "Come, let him have a look." Ice and fire in the throat of rolling. A burst of red. It was like lava boiling. Hua Hong's eyes were trembling so hard that he almost peed his pants. He was scared to death. Looking at the huge sinister dragon head, Hua Hong's lips turned purple, and started trembling non-stop. Roar. A roar. Hua Hong was so scared that he immediately peed his pants. Before he could react, the ice and fire moved and a surge of energy rolled him up. The pair of wings flapped. Hulala. A gust of wind immediately blew him into the air. Hua Hong frantically spun in midair, ice and fire soaring up into the air and flapped her wings once more. Hua Hong was like a piece of paper, continuously flying over. He immediately fainted, but woke up from his shock, fainted again, and woke up again. His internal organs were in a state of upheaval. It was worse than death. Suddenly, the wings of fire and ice suddenly spread out, no longer fanning themselves. Hua Hong also fell down from the sky. Ah! No! Save me! Save me, I beg you! I don't want to die! Save me, I beg you! Hua Hong shouted in fear. He only had one life, and if he died, he would have nothing. Everyone was afraid of death, even a god. Hua Hong had been working hard for so many years, he never thought that he would be inferior to even a dog in the eyes of the Son of Heaven. That was why he wanted to die. However, during this period of time, it was as if he was walking in front of a door to hell, and the soul-sealing spike was going to drag him into the underworld. That feeling was too unbearable. Thus, his heart broke down. Long Fei's mouth hooked up, and said, "Save you? Why should I save you? What capital do you have for me to save you?" Hua Hong said, "Long Fei." "No. Brother Fei, Brother Da Fei, I have a use, I'm very useful. The Son of Heaven broke through the royal realm at the age of 20, do you think he relied on his gifted vein? Bullshit, he relied entirely on the evil powder that I harvested. I can use this method to help you quickly break through. My evil powder technique can help you. Moreover, I still know a lot of secrets in order to learn a lot of evil pills after following the Son of Heaven for so many years. I still know many secrets about the God's tribe, as well as the people imprisoned in the God's tribe, the secret world and the domains that even the descendant of God's tribe do not dare to enter. I'm of great use. Please, save me." He spoke crazily. Hua Hong really did not want to die, he was so scared that he felt like vomiting. Long Fei dragged his chin with his fingers, revealing a thinking look, "Is that it? Would these be worth for your life?" Hua Hong immediately cried and said, "Brother Da Fei, what else do you want to know? I'll tell you everything you want to know." Right. I also know of universal realms cultivation." As soon as he finished speaking, Long Fei's eyes flashed. This was what he wanted. Hua Hong's evil powder was of great use, and the places that the secret world he mentioned were also of great value. However, what Long Fei wanted to know about the most was not these. It was in a place filled with universal realms. How huge was the God's tribe? It was impossible for all disciples to enter the shrine, and people like the Son of Heaven were unable to enter. There were definitely many more descendant of God's tribe in universal realm. Each and every rich descendant of God's tribe was leaking oil. What Long Fei wanted was their life. The pursuit of 10,000 worlds. God's tribe's curse. Mother ***, if I don't get back some interest, how can I call you Long Fei? Long Fei grinned and laughed sinisterly. You want to kill this daddy? Emperor Xian. I'll kill off all your children first. Chapter 29-25, Talking Good. Chapter 29-25, Talking Good. Huff, huff, huff. Hua Hong gasped for breath, his entire body was drenched, as though he was fished out of the water. He looked at Long Fei who was at the side, and then looked at the two monsters behind him. Hua Hong's heart was trembling. Long Fei said, "If I don't kill you, you won't tell anyone that I killed the Son of Heaven, right?" While they were talking, Long Fei put a hand on Hua Hong's shoulder and looked at him while grinning. Hua Hong's body immediately sank as he hurriedly replied, "I don't dare, I definitely won't tell anyone." Long Fei laughed, "That's right, we are brothers after all. Otherwise, how could the Son of Heaven die? If you were to say it out loud, I think that God's tribe will not let you off either." "That's not right. To be exact, if God's tribe knew that you were still alive, I'm afraid he would send people everywhere to kill you." Hua Hong's gaze turned cold. He was not stupid, although he knew that Long Fei had a threatening personality, what Long Fei said was not false. Hua Hong no longer had a choice, and said, "Big brother Da Fei, from now on, I will be by your side. I will do whatever you want me to do. From today onwards, you are my man." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry, I won't let you die, and even more so, I won't kick you away. That's not how I, Long Fei, do things. My brother Long Fei, I lived, I died. I have to let my brother live." Although Hua Hong did not interact much with him, he was clear about Long Fei's character. "Thank you, big brother Da Fei." "Don't call me brother Da Fei, what's your name, Son of Heaven?" Long Fei didn't really feel good about the name Big Brother Da Fei, because it made him think of a person from a movie from his previous life. Hua Hong replied, "Young master." Long Fei said. Then you can call me young noble from now on. Yes, young master. Hua Hong bowed slightly. Long Fei asked, do you really not have the antidote for the evil powder in Susu's body? Hua Hong's face tightened. Long Fei said, don't worry, if there is nothing, then there is nothing. You are my brother now, I will not act against my own brother. Hua Hong shook his head. Back then when I was refining this evil powder, the Son of Heaven had said that it was for a dead person to use, there was no need to refine the antidote, so I. Long Fei nodded his head. Then do you know the method to cure the poison? Hua Hong shook his head again. No. Long Fei's heart sank. This is difficult, ordinary antidotes are not enough. Who? Ice and fire, let's return to the city first. Old Hua, don't enter the city for now. You can't appear in the East Imperial City anymore. I will send Xiao Bai to protect you. Long Fei instructed, then looked at Xiao Bai Lang. Xiao Bai nodded and said, understood. A man knows his face but not his heart. Hua Hong had submitted to him already, but Long Fei did not know what kind of person he was. Once the matter of the Son of Heaven being killed was exposed, Long Fei was not afraid, but he was afraid that the East Imperial City would disappear from this world. Boom! Ice and fire soared into the sky. In less than half a minute, Long Fei had already landed outside of East Imperial City. Queen of Blood Moon walked over. Elegant, mature, rich, sexy, spicy, let people look at it to be unable to stop. The moment she appeared, almost all the men's gazes were attracted to her. After a few days of absence, the Queen of Blood Moon appeared even more charming. It could be the reason for the wetness. Fly, as long as you give the order, East Imperial City is yours, Queen of Blood Moon said softly. All the male gazes were focused on her, and she only had Long Fei in her eyes, because Long Fei had given her unprecedented happiness. She would remember this man for the rest of her life. The Night Valley, the Ghastly Cave, the Insect Cave, and the Ice Plains had all surrounded the East Imperial City. As long as Long Fei gave the command, the East Imperial City would definitely not be able to withstand the attack. However, Long Fei did not do so. He turned and looked at them, then pointed at the wall behind them. Does this look like a big door? Yes. Like our Triumph Gate. As long as we take down the East Imperial City, we will be the masters of this domain. Long Fei said, since the creation of the East Imperial City, the wall has been strengthening every year, and every year it has been increasing. The ones surrounding them are them, and also us. Would it be better to have a door that allows for peace, friendship, and coexistence? As soon as he finished speaking, many people were slightly taken aback. In the wormhole area, a big bug directly shouted, "Little bastard, what are you talking about? Are you saying that we are going to surrender to the human race? Are you stupid?" Not waiting for him to finish, Bing Hua's throat moved, peng, a fireball shot out. And then, the big bug was gone, turning into a pile of fire and burning up, leaving not even the dregs behind. The system beeped out a prompt. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Buggy Cave Grand Commander for obtaining 38,000 experience, 30,000 true spiritual value, and 0 universal value. Long Fei said softly, if you have something to say, then say it. I am a very reasonable person, and you guys can bring it up if you want to. Everyone in the Insect Valley slightly shrunk. The people of the Ice Plains were the same. In their hearts, they had scolded the Long Fei ancestor a few times. What kind of words did they have to say? This brat was able to kill him instantly the moment he appeared. How could he talk so nicely? The Queen of Blood Moon expressed his opinion. We need spirit pills and weapons refined by humans. We can also coexist with the ore and spirit grass that humans need. The Elder of the Night Valley also expressed his belief. We believe in Night King. Long Fei looked at the two main forces, the Big Bug and the Ice Plains, and asked, what about you two? What questions do you have to ask? Just as he finished, the giant eyes of the fire and ice moved and the flames in his throat moved again. Anyone who dared to talk nonsense would end up like a big bug. We obey as well. The Ice Plains obey. He didn't dare to struggle. They couldn't struggle at all, not to mention the Night Valley and the forces in the Ghost Cave. Even if it was ice and fire, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. It was an emperor-level war beast. He was truly an existence that could destroy the heavens and the earth, as if he was a dried-up twig. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "All right, I represent the commoners of East Imperial City to thank you." Then, Long Fei walked into the East Imperial City. The Queen of Blood Moon followed him. The elders of the several great tribes of the Night Valley followed him as ice and fire spiraled into the sky. Everyone in the East Imperial City looked at Long Fei. One by one, they walked out of the house. The dean of Donghuang College said, "It seems like he has already dealt with everything." Yuan Tianwang was secretly shocked, and said, "Good boy, you have truly shocked me wave after wave." Long Fei walked in front of the dean of Donghuang College and said, "Lord Principal, I am representing the 4 forces outside the city to negotiate with you. I suggest that we transform the broken city wall into a city gate, allowing people outside the city to freely enter the East Imperial City. Do you agree?" Dean of Donghuang College smiled faintly, and said, "I agree." Yuan Tianwang said, "Coexistence is the old principal's wish for a long time." "That's right. I've made my wish, it's time for me to go as well." Dean of Donghuang College's face suddenly changed. He had been persisting the entire time, and now that the East Imperial City's crisis had ended, he could no longer hold on any longer. His face paled as he looked at Long Fei like a benevolent old grandpa, and said, "Long Fei, come over here, I have something to say to you." Chapter 29-26, Great Priestess of the Elves. Chapter 29-26, Great Priestess of the Elves. The sudden change in the Dean of Donghuang College caught everyone off guard. Long Fei's eyes also tensed up. He rushed forward and immediately held on to Dean of Donghuang College. If not for Dean of Donghuang College, he probably would have died at Dragon Gathering last time. There were several times when it was not the Dean of Donghuang College who took action, but Long Fei could not live past that point. Long Fei remembered this kindness in his heart. Seeing that the Dean of Donghuang College was suddenly not working, Long Fei's heart ached. Dean of Donghuang College smiled faintly and said, "Child, you are truly not simple. I believe that you will become even more so in the future." Long Fei checked on Dean of Donghuang College's injuries. A faint smile hung from the Dean of Donghuang College's face the entire time. He said, "It's useless, I can't handle it anymore." Long Fei's eyes were moist. Dean of Donghuang College said in a low voice, "Come here, come a little closer." His voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible. Long Fei bent down and said, "Old courtyard, if there is anything you need me to do, I will definitely do it for you." Dean of Donghuang College used the last bit of breath of true spirit in his body and sent a sound transmission to Long Fei. "Child, go to Xiao Yaro City. Xiao Yaro City has someone you want to find. Remember, you must go, you must." Before he could even finish that last word, Dean of Donghuang College's head tilted to the side as his body became devoid of any aura. Dead. At the same time, the system sounded out. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the quest. Mission: find the Xiao Yaro City level. C time: none reward, 1000 experience points. Triggered a C-level mission, and there was nothing special about it. Not only that, Long Fei was completely confused by what he heard. Xiao Yaro City? Where? Yi Zichen was confused. He wanted to ask, but, feeling the rigidity and iciness of Dean of Donghuang College's body, his heart suddenly tightened and he inexplicably felt pain in his heart. F***CK God's tribe. In the future, this will be my revenge. Long Fei no longer thought about the Xiao Yaro City. It was just a C-level mission. Long Fei did not place much importance on it, but he did give her a few instructions. This was the old hall's last wish. He would definitely go to Xiao Yaro City in the future if he had the chance. Even though he didn't even know where the Xiao Yaro City was now. Plop. Yuan Tianwang kneeled down heavily. Next. All the students of Donghuang College kneeled down. All the citizens of East Imperial City kneeled down as well. The Dean of Donghuang College had done too many things for the East Imperial City. In the past, everyone thought that the Su family had the most influence in East Imperial City, but now, it seems that the Dean of Donghuang College had the most influence. One day later. I can't take it anymore. Our cure is no longer able to control the GU in her body. It's no longer enough. Long Fei, we really have no other choice. Unless the patriarch is still here, but his also. A few clan elders of the Su family were frantically releasing cure in front of Su Su's bed, but it was already useless. Moreover, even though Su Wantu had used an antidote to save Su Wantu, but his mind was muddled, as if he had become a lunatic in his old age. He had forgotten many things. He only remembered one Su Su. He did not have any cultivation now, so it was impossible for him to release the powerful cure. Ah! Pain! Big brother Long Fei, just kill me, I can't take it anymore, just kill me. Su Su's face kept changing. The pain was so excruciating that it couldn't even be considered human. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly, his teeth chattering loudly. He really couldn't think of a way, and he really didn't know if he could save Su Su. This feeling of powerlessness made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Kill me. Please, kill me. Woo woo. Ah. Ah. He rolled on the bed in pain. Everyone in the room felt terrible looking at him. Ah! Long Fei screamed in his heart. What could he do to save her? Suddenly, his mind moved slightly. In that instant, Long Fei's gaze moved forward, the spring of life. Yes. My mind has the spring of life. If I use its healing power, will I be able to save Su Su? Long Fei moved, spring of life. Can you feel my call? Can you save her? What should I do? Long Fei panicked again. Looking at Su Su's painful expression, his mind was like a mess. I don't care. The idea moved. He cut his own palm, and fresh blood flowed out, and directly handed it to Su Su, saying, Su Su, come, absorb my blood. Quickly, absorb my blood. Upon seeing this sight, everyone trembled in fear. Su Su shook his head, unwilling to go forward. Long Fei did not care about all that. As long as there was a chance, he would not miss even the slightest of possibilities. His palm pressed against Su Su's mouth and blood dripped into it. Long Fei was also praying in his heart, Spring of life, please help me out. Blood dripped down. A strange scene happened. Su Su actually stopped hurting in an instant. Not only that, her constantly changing face instantly turned rosy, and her skin became even more tender than before. Everyone in the room was shocked. This scene was too bizarre. Long Fei's blood essence could cure the poison? Long Fei thanked him in his heart. Thank you, thank you. The effects of the spring of life. Actually, the spring of life did not release the slightest bit of recovery ability on Long Fei's mind. It was all because of the blood vein that was hidden in Long Fei's body. However, Long Fei did not know. He thought that it was the spring of life that was helping him. Su Su's complexion recovered, and his entire being became energetic, and also, rays of healing light burst out from her body and were frantically being absorbed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Rays of light surrounded her as she floated into the air. This caused everyone to be even more dumbfounded. Su Su's eyes closed, she channeled the breath of true spirit in her body and started to crazily absorb, and in that moment, her cultivation crazily broke through. Boom, boom, boom. With a series of explosions, he broke through the transmutation unity stage. It was too shocking. However, this was not the end. Su Su opened his eyes, and the glow surrounding his body suddenly changed, becoming a towering ancient tree. The Su family elders were all shocked as they stared at the ancient tree simulacrum in a daze. My God, the strongest secret technique of the cure. Not even that. The towering ancient tree once again mutated, turning into a fairy. The elf with the huge wings. The Su clan elders were all trembling in fear. They had the highest level of understanding towards the cure, and thus, they had never seen the floating fairy on Su Su's body. Long Fei was secretly shocked. What the F***K, Great Elf Priest. Awesome. Chapter 29-27 Young Girls Loving Spring. Chapter 29-27 Young Girls Loving Spring. A super big wet nurse. This amount of milk. It could be said that he couldn't finish the milk. Long Fei did not expect this. No one would have thought, especially the Su family. They were looking at Su Su and Long Fei like they were gods. Their eyes were filled with respect. The reason why Su Su changed his mind was because of Long Fei. It was Long Fei who created her, to allow her to reach a height that not even the ancestors of the Su clan had reached. Long Fei himself was secretly pleased with himself, and thought to himself, so the spring of life is actually so powerful, damn, I nearly got Su to do that. To be able to recover my life and save others, it seems that this spring of life still has many uses. Buzz. When he retracted his elf wings, Su opened his eyes slightly. At this moment, her cheeks were rosy and her skin was white. She wasn't wearing an elf armor, but her entire person was like a charming fairy that would be hard to forget with a single glance. She took the opportunity to throw herself into Long Fei's embrace and directly started to cry softly, "Big brother Long Fei, woo." Long Fei's chest was pressed down, his heart tensed up. She really is a super wet nurse. It had become much bigger. He was no longer afraid of losing milk. Long Fei lightly patted Su's back, and said, I'm not afraid. It's all good now, what's wrong with your body? Su shook his head and said, No, I feel that my body is very light, as if I can fly. What exactly is in your blood? At that time, I felt an incomparable power exploding in my body. That Gu worm was instantly frightened and curled up, not daring to move at all. After that, he continuously broke through the shackles in my body. He's too powerful. Hearing her words, Long Fei had some doubts in his heart, and thought to himself, isn't it supposed to be a recovery power? How could there be such a strong impact? Forget it. Is already done, it doesn't matter how strong he is. Long Fei was too lazy to think about it. Actually, Long Fei thought about his own blood veins. But last time when all of the dragon scales on his body cracked and the blood vein in his body went retrograde, coupled with the baptism provided by the primordial system, he himself did not know what exactly was inside the blood vein. Furthermore, with repeated testing, it was impossible to detect his blood vein. What if his own blood vein had a hidden attribute? Or was it just an ordinary blood vein? Long Fei himself did not know either. The poison in Su's body receded. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. There was still one thing that had not been resolved. Lan Mai. Her lifeline was blocked, so to break through, she needed to use a holy vein. In the past, Long Fei was very worried. Where could he go to obtain holy vein? Don't worry now. Each of you get a drop of your blood essence. You need something purer. Long Fei looked at Xiao Bai and Icefire. These two fellows could have as many holy vein as they wanted. It was too easy. Xiao Bai and Ice and Fire did not ask for the reason, and directly condensed their own blood essence. After Long Fei collected them, he immediately went to Lan Mai's residence. Lan Mai sat on the stairs with her hands on her cheeks, looking to be deep in thought. She wondered if she was the same as Su. She knew she didn't have long to live. She also knew that she wasn't as lucky as Su. There was nothing that could help her when her life veins were blocked. She wasn't as lucky as Su. I will see the last day of my life. I will disappear. I don't want to see him sad. Lan Mai muttered, actually. If. She thought of what her father had said to her last. Lan Mai's cheeks slightly blushed. How can we let a girl bring up this kind of matter? Thinking about it, Lan Mai's small face blushed even more. The young girl was in love. At this time, Long Fei walked in, saw Lan Mai's blushing face, and said, What's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well? Lan Mai shivered, and immediately stood up as if she was frightened by a little rabbit, and said, No. Long Fei pulled hand and said, Come, I found a way to save you. S heart was incomparably sweet as she was held in Long Fei's big, warm hands. Seeing Long Fei pull him into the room, her heart was beating wildly. You have to treat me. Regardless of whether you can save me or not, if I can give my first time to you, even if I die, it will be the most glorious thing in my life. If she did not open her meridians the first time, she would die. However, she wasn't afraid. She had been preparing, waiting for this moment. Because Long Fei had done far too much for her, and she didn't know how to repay him. Right now, the only thing he had was her body. He walked into the room. Lan Mai sat on the side of the bed, his eyes closed and his cheeks flushed red, as though he was waiting for something. Her heart was a little nervous. Seeing her like that, Long Fei could not help but be startled, and asked, "What are you doing?" Lan Mai opened his eyes and looked at Long Fei. Long Fei took out 2 small bottles and said, "I have 2 drops of pure holy vein here. They will definitely be able to help you break through your lifeline and tendons." Hey! Lan Mai was a little taken aback, and her eyes showed a little disappointment. She was ready. Long Fei stuffed the 2 small bottles into Lan Mai's hands and said, "Cultivate properly, I'll protect you." Finished. Long Fei walked out of the room, leaving a single Lan Mai standing there in a daze. Wood. Big wood. Super large wood. Haven't I done it obvious enough? Don't you want to? Lan Mai bit her lips and said softly. Tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. Looking at the small bottle in his hand, Lan Mai exhaled deeply and started to cultivate seriously. Outside, in the yard. As Long Fei sat on the stairs, how could he not understand Lan Mai's words? He just didn't dare. Because, once he and Lan Mai were to merge, what if the blood vein in his body was an ordinary blood vein? Lan Mai's life would be gone, and this was the reason why he had never dared to do so. There was at least a little bit of time left to live. If the fusion failed, then Lan Mai would be gone. It no longer mattered whether she was descendant of Holy General or not. She was already in Long Fei's heart. Huff. I will definitely save you. I definitely won't let you leave my side. The woman that I, Long Fei, have my eyes on, is someone even a Yama would want to take away. Long Fei's heart tightened, his fists clenching tightly. In the room, the power from top to bottom of Lan Mai's body became especially intense. Explosions were heard one after another. Boom. Suddenly, there was a loud sound. Lan Mai revealed a pained expression, and said with an incomparably downcast tone, "I failed again. Oh God, what do you want from me?" Huh. Long Fei heard the sound of explosion and quickly ran in. Seeing Lan Mai's dejected expression, he immediately calmed down and said, "Don't be discouraged, there's still a way." Lan Mai looked at Long Fei, looked at him seriously, then walked towards Long Fei, and said, "There is one other way." Chapter 29-28, Holy General Awakening. Chapter 29-28, Holy General Awakening. His eyes were blazing with fire. As they walked, Lan Mai took off the clothes on his body and said, "There is another way. Father told me last, that I need to merge with you. At that time, I was very much against it. But it's different now. I like you. I love you." As he watched Lan Mai walk over, and as the clothes on his body fell off one by one, his entire body was completely exposed to Long Fei. Long Fei retreated a little. He couldn't take the risk. Lan Mai did not give him the chance to run out of the room. He was completely naked. He immediately threw himself into Long Fei's embrace. Long Fei did his best to control himself, and said, "Lan Mai, I might destroy you, I." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Lan Mai's lips sealed his mouth. "Ua." Lan Mai uttered from his throat, "I am willing." She was ready for everything. If this was the end of her life, she would have no regrets. To be able to die in Long Fei's embrace was something to be happy about. In an instant. Fire and dry wood, plus a barrel of gasoline. It immediately sent out flames that looked like it was about to explode. After a long time, Long Fei looked at the exhausted Lan Mai. Lan Mai was also looking at Long Fei. She didn't know if she was going to die soon, but she was satisfied after knowing the taste of the forbidden fruit. Their eyes met. The 4 eyes didn't blink. The 2 were afraid that they wouldn't be able to see each other in the next second. But, even after half an hour, there was still no response. Lan Mai was perfectly fine. Not dead. Long Fei said softly, "Could it be that my body is made of holy vein?" Lan Mai giggled, and said, "No matter what kind of blood vein you are, from now on, I am your woman." Long Fei laughed. What an idiot. Suddenly, Lan Mai's pupils abruptly tightened, and the aura on his body abruptly became scorching hot. A deafening sound echoed out. It was like a huge explosion. Long Fei was instantly repelled by a huge force from Lan Mai's body. As if his entire body was suppressed by this power, Long Fei's heart sunk. Such powerful strength, could it be? Long Fei was scared. At the same time, Long Fei quickly put on his clothes and rushed towards Lan Mai once more. However, Waves of power burst out from Lan Mai's body. Like waves of shockwaves, rings after rings of power burst out. Wung, wung, wung. It was visible to the naked eye, penetrating through everything in the room, and then exploding at the East Imperial City. The entire scene was just like a miracle that had happened. What happened? How can there be such a powerful force? What happened? Where's boss? Where's big brother Long Fei? Boom. He spread his wings of ice and fire and instantly dove down on top of the city walls. Xiao Bai also instantly dashed forward. This burst of power caused them to be exceptionally worried. This power was simply too strong. Yuan Tianwang stood at the entrance of the Donghuang College, looked at the waves of energy rushing out from within the city, and his heart tightened slightly as he said, "What a strong power. Ha ha ha. Who said that no genius can come out from the East Imperial City? Who said that all of East Imperial City's are trash talents? Did you see that? Do you see what this is? Ha ha ha. The all-powerful genius Long Fei, the one who controlled the power of heaven and earth in the universal realm, the young miss of the Su family who had the highest understanding of healing techniques, and the owner of this power. In this year's Factory Sect Disciple Selection, East Imperial City is destined to cause a sensation." Yuan Tianwang was incomparably excited. For so many years, the East Imperial City had always been looked down upon by people. Said it was all the descendants of criminals. It was the gathering place for trash, the gathering place for trash. In the whole of Western regions, saying East Imperial City would only bring up the words land of trash. For so many years, he was only a disciple of the East Imperial City. However, in these few years, his cultivation had been unable to break through, and even more people were ridiculing the East Imperial City. The moment Yuan Tianwang saw Long Fei, he became incomparably excited in his heart. No matter what, they had to bring Long Fei to the Factory Sect so that those so-called geniuses and Heaven's Pride level experts could see what kind of people were actually from the East Imperial City. This was the reason he came out of Donghuang College. Unexpectedly. Yet another enormous burst of power. This made Yuan Tianwang even more excited, and he started laughing maniacally, as if he was washing away his shame. Boom. 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 The energy shockwaves in the room still exploded, and Long Fei was already forced back into the courtyard, wave after wave of shock. Is he about to break through his shackles? Is this the dredge the channels? Holy General, descendant of Holy General. Black and white, is this the power of the descendant of Holy General you spoke of? Long Fei became excited. This kind of situation was definitely not because Lan Mai's lifespan was exhausted, but rather, he had broken through his lifeline. What exactly is the blood vein in my body? I am also a holy vein. But why not? Long Fei was very gloomy. At this moment, ice and fire, together with Xiao Bai, could change their forms, but could be big or small. In order to not cause panic, Long Fei had to make them smaller. Boss, what's the situation? This power. So powerful. Xiao Bai and Bing Hue were also shocked. Even they said he was strong, Long Fei was even more excited in his heart. Rumble. A huge force directly overturned the roof, forming a beam of light that shot into the sky. Buzz. The clouds churned, forming a huge vortex. At this moment, God's tribe palace above the ninth heaven. Several elders stood in front of the guillotines and watched as the light beam broke through primordial chaos and entered the ancient world. Is that scary guy coming back? It was also at this time. A huge face appeared in the sky above shrine. Emperor Xian shouted loudly, "Send someone to enter ancient world, you must find the repression of boundary stones for me." In addition, when the Holy General is awakened, many old fellows might be ready to make a move again. Send out the disciples of the ancient inheritance to me, and if anyone dares to make a move, directly suppress them. This world belongs to my God's tribe. Only my Emperor Xian can cover the sky with one hand, and he is the absolute ruler of the entire universal realm. No one can move him, not even the first ranker of the ancient times, who was suppressed by the repression of boundary stones back then. The Emperor Xian's words were filled with anger. The awakening of the Holy General also meant that the terrifying man had returned. However, he was not worried, As long as the repression of boundary stones was here, it would be able to suppress that terrifying person. Emperor Xian slightly said, "Get Long Wushan to cooperate fully. Tell him that as long as he can find the repression of boundary stones, I can extract one of the soul nail from his body." "Yes, sir." Unknown domain. Mu Wanna looked up at the sky and saw the Holy General's beam of light piercing through the horizon. There were no ripples in her eyes, she only wanted her son. "Feia, where are you now?" Chapter 29:29 Invitation. Chapter 29:29 Invitation 9 Heavens. The light beam returned from ancient world. Then, boom, bang. A thunderous explosion came down from above Lan Mai's head and directly entered into his body. Buzz. The aura on Lan Mai's body changed, her cultivation immediately changed from 0 to general level. Level 10 jump. Boom. Another loud sound rang out. Another level 10 jump. Boom. 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 A series of consecutive explosions, from level 0 to God's elephant state. This speed. Long Fei had always thought that his cultivation speed was fast, but compared to Lan Mai's cultivation speed, his was already at level 10 in the blink of an eye. How many are there? A light speed rocket. A fierce contest. Long Fei was already envious of himself. Looking at the 9 heavens, he mumbled, "When will I be able to level up once too?" Descendant of Holy General. Just now, the beam of light that erupted from Lan Mai's body should have broken through primordial energy and entered the ancient world. Is he summoning the ancient power awake? Damn. Thinking of all these, Long Fei became even more shocked. Buzz. The clouds in the 9 heavens began to return to normal, and the deep whirlpool also began to slowly heal up. The shockwave from the battle also weakened, one by one, before finally disappearing. Lan Mai walked out of the room. Dressed in phoenix cloth, his eyes filled with tears, he looked at Long Fei with excitement, not knowing what to say. She was so excited that she couldn't speak. Finally, she threw herself into Long Fei's embrace, and immediately started to bawl, crying like she was a 3-year-old child. "WA. I thought I was going to die. I thought I'd never see you again. I'm really scared. Woo woo." At this moment, the taut nerves in her heart finally relaxed, and she started to cry at the top of her lungs. Before, she could really hold it in, but now, she really couldn't. Because she had broken through. He had broken through the shackles of his lifeline. Moreover, in that instant, a strong power appeared in her body. This power allowed her to quickly break through, also crazily tempering her body. Not only that, he also had a supreme secret technique and a weapon. She didn't know how she had gotten there. However, Lan Mai knew, without Long Fei, she would not be here. Long Fei lightly patted Lan Mai's back, and said, "Everything is fine, everything is fine." Long Fei's heart also relaxed slightly as he thought to himself, "In the future, I can do whatever I want without fear. I don't need to be like before, I can do whatever I want, ha ha ha. I didn't expect my little brother to have this kind of power, he's awesome." Long Fei became evil. At the same time, the system sounded out. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing the Lan Mai's Dredge the Channel's mission. You have received 1 million points of task reward and 10,000 points of true spiritual value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the special reward Death Sickle. Do you want to receive it? This was only an A class mission. Its mission coefficient was not high, but it had almost made Long Fei anxious. Actually, it was also because Long Fei was overthinking things. A problem that could be solved with a single shot had to be dealt with in such a short amount of time. Of course, Long Fei himself didn't know how strong he actually was. Looking at the system's reward, Long Fei swallowed his saliva, and muttered, "Death Scythe, hey. Receive. Is it Hero Cane? Or the gigantic death scythe in his hands? Heh. Quick, quick, quick. I can't wait any longer." Long Fei could no longer hold it in, following the movement of his idea, pick. The system also chimed in. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Snapshot Step. As soon as he finished, Long Fei was dumbstruck. Damn you, system, Are you messing with me? Didn't we say that it was the death scythe? So what if you give me a skill? Damn you. A hero. A weapon turned into a skill. Keynesy skill. What a loss of life. However, the system will not give you any explanation. If you want it, you have to take it. Long Fei was confused. Although he was a little unhappy, he did not treat the snapshot step as trash. After all, this skill was still quite useful. At least, he could walk through walls. That day, when the beautiful ladies took a bath, they could peep at her while she was through the wall. Wouldn't that be nice? When Long Fei checked the properties of the snapshot step, his expression suddenly changed. Damn, how can this be called a snapshot step? This should be F*King abnormal snapshot step, right? Movement speed plus 250%, wall passing time plus 5 hours cooldown time, 30 minutes. Surround the wall and deal 500% more damage. How abnormal is this? Long Fei himself was dumbfounded. Snapshot step. At least you can call it the mountain-piercing technique. Meeting a powerful enemy? You want to kill your father? Do you believe that your father can stay in the mountain for 5 hours? Furthermore, I am still able to move freely in the mountain, and my speed is even faster. I am simply a godlike existence. Ha ha ha. This skill is awesome. Cultivate. Long Fei immediately started cultivating. This is still a skill from the game. Now this old man has another trump card. Heh. At this time, Fu Shishan and Su Su also ran into the courtyard. Seeing that the aura around Lan Mai's body had become abnormally strong, the three of them laughed excitedly. Sister Lan Mai, you're even more beautiful than before. Su Su looked at Lan Mai's tender skin, his face filled with envy. Lan Mai looked at Long Fei, and her cheeks flushed red. Su Su immediately understood and laughed wickedly. Sister Lan Mai, you guys are all faster than me at stealing the forbidden fruit, I have to speed up as well. No. I'm taking him down tonight. Fu Shishan also smiled slightly. At this moment, Tan Dapao walked in and said, Brother Fei, Lord Yuan is here. Long Fei slightly said, sure. Yuan Tianwang walked into the courtyard with large strides, and he could tell that Lan Mai was different from before with a single glance. When he saw the three women, he was slightly moved. Long Fei laughed. Why is Big Brother Yuan here? Yuan Tianwang said, I am here to bid my farewells to you. Now that the old courtyard has been buried, it is time for me to enter the sect. Before I leave, I have something to tell you. He stayed for several days. Moreover, he left the factory sect on his own accord. When he returned to the sect, he would definitely be punished, but for this trip he had met Long Fei and the others, being punished a little was nothing. Long Fei said, if there's anything you need to say it, I will definitely do it. Yuan Tianwang said, it's very simple. I want all of you to head to factory sect to participate in the disciple selection. With your talent, you will definitely be able to enter the factory sect to bring honor to our East Imperial City. To the factory sect? Long Fei trembled slightly. Everyone was also shocked on the inside. The factory sect was a giant existence. It was the overlord of this generation in the western regions, and one of the strongest sects. It was the sanctuary of every warrior's heart, and if they could enter it would be of great help to their cultivation. Long Fei did not reply in a hurry. However, a voice traveled into Long Fei's mind. Elder Swordsman's voice sounded, accept the invitation, agree to his requests. Chapter 29:30 Women Not Allowed. Chapter 29:30 Women Not Allowed. If he couldn't enter the sect, and had a mentor teaching him how to cultivate, it wouldn't be much help to Long Fei. What did he rely on to achieve a breakthrough? It all depended on experience. Although he had 1 hour of normal practice mode, 1 hour of one day was too short, and would not be of much help to him. Long Fei originally wanted to refuse, but the elder swordsman's sound transmission made him stop. Moreover, when they looked at Su Su, Lan Mai, Tan Dapao, and the others, their eyes were filled with burning desire. They yearned to enter the factory sect. Especially Tan Dapao. His eyes lit up. Even if he saw a beauty, he wouldn't act like this. Long Fei said, all right. Yuan Tianwang was secretly happy as he said, this is really great, with your talents, you will definitely be able to get the top spot in this year's selection competition, bringing honor to East Imperial City. He was very excited. Because he seemed to have seen the stupefied expressions of the people from Factory Sect who could not see the East Imperial City clearly. He believed that Long Fei would definitely be able to make the East Imperial City proud. Long Fei said, "If I don't, I'm afraid I will embarrass you." Yuan Tianwang laughed, "I believe in you, and isn't life just about walking up high? Long Fei, East Imperial City is no longer suitable for you. You need a larger, broader stage to display your abilities, and you also need a stronger coach to guide you. I believe that you will definitely be able to enter Factory Sect, and you too." "All right. It's getting late, I should return to the sect. The Factory Sect selection will start early next spring, and there's still less than half a year of time before it begins. You all can rush to the Factory Sect 1 month earlier, and once you mention my name, you can register. Long Fei. Everyone, I'll see you next year." Yuan Tianwang was extremely excited. He cupped his fists and walked away. This trip was worth it. Even if he was to be punished when he returned, he had reaped too much rewards this time. "Brother Fei, are you really going to the Factory Sect?" Tan De Pao was a little impatient. He was so excited that he looked like he was about to jump. Su also said, "Factory Sect is an overlord-class sect on the side of the western regions. It would be really great if they could enter the Factory Sect." Lan Mai said with concern, "I heard that Factory Sect alone has over 100,000 powerhouse Emperor realm. There are countless Heavenly Saint realm powerhouse. Can we choose any one of them?" Fu Shishan slightly said, "I know a bit about this Factory Sect, and it is a cultivation sect that strives for longevity. Its name is Longevity Sect, only, after it became stronger, it became the current Factory Sect. Its current power is indeed very strong, and it has an extremely large amount of cultivation resources. If I can get selected, that would be for the best. However, Factory Sect selection process is very strict. It's about talent, cultivation, and whether or not you have immortal karma. Every year, there will be millions of warriors selecting you. Although it is difficult, the number of martial artists participating in the selection will only increase and not decrease every year. Moreover, once you become the top scholar, you will have the chance to obtain a supreme secret treasure. The business alliance of Fu family was spread throughout the various realms of primordial history. She knew many sects more than others. Hearing Fu Shishan's words, Su muttered, "Then can we choose?" Long Fei said, "Don't worry, with me here, you will all be able to pick one. What's more, there are still a few more months." At this time, Tan De Pao said, "Brother Fei, I'll be leaving first." He did not want to implicate Long Fei, and he wanted to use his own efforts to enter the Factory Sect. He did not have a superior talent, and if he did not have a powerful blood vein, he could only rely on himself to advance forward step by step. Moreover, Launcher was not popular in Universal Realm. If he wanted to pass the Factory Sect selection, he would need to put in several times the effort of others to get the chance. Long Fei knew Tan De Pao's personality, so he nodded slightly and said, "Go." Actually, it was the same for Long Fei as well. His cultivation was at a stage where it was extremely difficult to raise, and with his innate talent, even he did not know what his blood vein was. If he wanted to pass the selection, he would have to put in tons of effort. Everyone dispersed and went back to cultivate. Now that they had a target, they worked even harder. Long Fei walked to the courtyard of the Elder Swordsman. Elder Swordsman was smoking in a corner. Upon seeing Long Fei walk into the courtyard, he slightly withdrew his smoke gun and said, "Factory Sect is an opportunity for you." Long Fei asked, "What chance?" Elder Swordsman said, "Didn't you say you want to cultivate ancient inheritance's power? The super force of Ming clan in your body can be cultivated in the Factory Sect." Long Fei was a little puzzled, and asked, "Why can I cultivate in the Factory Sect?" The Elder Swordsman said, "Because there is a place called the Abyss in Factory Sect. That place was once the burial ground for millions of Ming clan's warriors and is also an extremely dark place in the Universal Realm. If you want to level up your super force of Ming clan, that is the best place." Long Fei was shocked, not because of the Abyss, but because his guess was right. Whatever ancient inheritance it was, he had to cultivate it. The super force of Ming clan must be cultivated. Killing Sword had to absorb all kinds of powerful metal energy. What sort of place would one train in to use the power of decay? So where would the black and white energy under the dragon-shaped mark cultivate? Long Fei had figured out the first two. He was now more confident in the power of the ancient inheritance. Long Fei looked at Elder Swordsman and asked puzzledly, "How do you know that there's a netherworld Udumbara flower in Fatri sect?" Elder Swordsman's expression changed slightly. He paused for a few seconds, knocked on his pipe, and said, "Why are you asking so many questions? Just go. Don't think that you can kill the Son of Heaven flawlessly. If that person didn't have a dead evil pillmaster, then he's just a thunder. Who knows, maybe you would have been betrayed by him the other day. If I were you, I would have definitely cut the weeds by their roots." Long Fei was startled. At that time, he was the only one present for the matter of Hua Hong not dying, but Elder Swordsman knew. It seemed that the Elder Swordsman was much more powerful than he imagined. Long Fei replied, "I will be careful." The Elder Swordsman bowed and said slightly, "Kid, the most important thing to do is to increase my cultivation, so that I can become stronger as soon as possible, and only by becoming stronger will I have a chance of survival." Long Fei replied, "I know." Elder Swordsman wanted to walk into the room, but he glanced at Long Fei from the corner of his eyes. After hesitating for a moment, he asked, "Do you want to cultivate the power of the God's tribe's restrictions on cultivation?" Long Fei was startled, and said, "Fairy Sword Sect's secret technique?" Elder Swordsman nodded, and said, "That's right." Long Fei's eyes lit up, and he said, "All right." Elder Swordsman said, "Starting from tomorrow, come here to report. Remember to not get too close to a woman during my closed-door training." Long Fei replied, "No problem. Not close to a woman? What's wrong with that? He could let a woman get close to him." Fairy Sword Sect was once an extremely powerful sect, and the sword intent from Elder Swordsman, that kind of power from the ancient sword spiritual power, was something even Long Fei found amazing. Chapter 2931 Sword Training. Chapter 2931 Sword Training. Long Fei made a trip out of the city overnight. He could go wherever he wanted to now. Night Valley. On the huge bed, the three Yimai sisters were like three gentle kittens, quietly curling up by Long Fei's side, extremely gentle. Long Fei laughed with his upper body still bare. "You won't let this daddy get too close to you? That will start tomorrow. Your elder will be satisfied today." For the past 2 hours, Long Fei had not stopped. If the three sisters weren't so tired, Long Fei could still fight. "Night King, are you really going to participate in the Fatri sect selection? Fatri sect is not like East Imperial City. I heard that the internal competition is extremely intense. The more powerful a sect is, the more they are piled up with bones. Otherwise, don't go, okay?" The little sister pouted. Thinking about how she wouldn't be able to see Long Fei for a few months, or even a few years, made her feel uncomfortable. Elder sister glared at her. "Night King, you can do whatever you want. There's no need to discuss with us. We will only support you." Long Fei said, "You are my Long Fei's women, so of course I want to discuss it with you. However, don't worry. Even if I manage to enter the Fatri sect, I will frequently return. Moreover, I might not even be able to make it." Big Sister said, "As long as Night King is willing, there is no place that you cannot choose." Long Fei held the three sisters tightly and said, "The reason why I came here today is for you all to not slack off in your training. You guys are born to be the masters of darkness. I want you all to become the kings of the Dark Night. You can support me in the future." The three sisters immediately nodded. "Don't worry, we haven't stopped cultivating. With the pills and armor provided by Night King, our progress is even faster. Right now, even if it's an early-stage Emperor powerhouse, without any defenses in place, we can easily kill them all." Long Fei was secretly shocked. It had only been a few days. If his improvement speed was too fast, wouldn't it be terrible if he gave them more time? Yimai clan was a natural-born king of the Dark Night. At that time, they would definitely become the king of assassins in Universal Realm. Long Fei was a little excited. In the middle of the night, Long Fei left without a sound after they slept soundly. Bing Hua asked, "Boss, are we still going back to the city?" Long Fei said, "To the ghost hole." Fire and Ice were startled. "Boss, could it be that you're hurting your body too much?" Long Fei shot a glance at Bing Hua, and said, "Do you think so?" Bing Hua immediately said, "You are a dragon, and you are Holy Dragon Emperor, how can you possibly harm your body? No matter how many women there are, you can handle them all, and to every woman, dragon essence is more powerful than any treasure as nourishment, and their cultivation will also increase rapidly. Dragon race. The strongest being on the surface. Besides having a powerful fleshly body, his sexual desire was also the most powerful. Long Fei had never felt tired before. He was also very curious about this. Hearing Bing Hua say this, Long Fei said slightly, "Am I a dragon? Can you tell me what happened before?" Long Fei really wanted to know what happened in the past, and wanted to know more about the people he knew. Icefire said, "In the gods' martial continent, you were a dragon, and at that time, all the people of the Long family were dragons. Moreover, you were the strongest dragon, your grandfather was the king of tyrannosaurs, and all of your clansmen were dragons. I don't know where they are currently, and even though they returned to the dragon tribe, the dragon race's choice was completely trampled by the gods' tribe. And your father? I don't know what kind of dragon your father is, but I do know that your father is extremely powerful. 8 King Kong was rescued by your father from the underworld." "Right. 8 King Kong. They are all your brothers, and from what your father said, they seem to be the 8 heaven pillar in ancient world. He is Sister Jojo." Along the way, Bing Hua said it a lot, but Long Fei could not remember a single thing. There was no impression at all in his mind. 8 King Kong, father, mother, Jojo, Liu Luoshi. His mind was blank, but he could not recall any of the names he had heard before. Finally, Ice and Fire reached God's tribe. Speaking of Long Wushan, Long Fei couldn't help but clench his fists. "Empress Yen, sooner or later, this daddy will tear you into 1,000 pieces." Ghost Cave. Yet another round of fierce battles. Compared to the gentleness of the 3 Yi My sisters, the Queen of Blood Moon was crazed with passion. She can know any of your thoughts, any of your gestures, if you want to do anything. This was the difference between mature women and young girls. "Go. No matter what you want to do, I will support you as long as you remember that I am a woman." Queen of Blood Moon leaned against Long Fei's chest while gasping for breath. Long Fei hugged her tightly and said, "Amen. You are my woman, I will always remember you." Queen of Blood Moon doesn't need you to explain too much. She knew what she had to do. She also knew who Long Fei's enemy was. No matter what kind of price they had to pay, Queen of Blood Moon would always stand behind Long Fei. How could Long Fei not remember this kind of woman in his heart? It was already early in the morning when he returned to East Imperial City. Fu Shishan had been waiting at the city gate for a long time. Her brows were covered in a thin layer of frost, her cultivation was not strong, waiting in the cold was torture. Long Fei felt a little heartache. He walked forward and stopped Fu Shishan in his arms. At this moment, Fu Shishan was immediately warmed up by Long Fei's chest. He did not want to say anything, he did not want to do anything, he only wanted to be quietly hugged by Long Fei and live an eternal life. He didn't know why. There was always an irresistible aura on Long Fei's body. That aura made her unable to extricate herself from it. After a long time, Fu Shishan said, "Are you sure you want to go to Factory Sect?" Long Fei nodded his head, "En." Fu Shishan said, "All right, I can't follow you with my cultivation, but don't worry, I will go to Fairy City." Long Fei was slightly taken aback, then said, "Fairy City has a business alliance of Fu family as well?" Fu Shishan shook his head and said, "No, but from now on I will have one." Long Fei wanted to say something, but he resisted the urge in the end, and hugged Fu Shishan even more tightly. In the morning, Long Fei went to Elder Swordsman to report. The Elder Swordsman came out of the house, he looked at Long Fei coldly and muttered, "Young one, you are really something. Let's see what you can do. After a long night, you are still practicing your sword." Long Fei scratched his head. "Damn, Elder Swordsman, are you following me or not?" He felt that he was nowhere to be found. Even in Night Valley, It was the same as being watched in the ghastly cave. Elder Swordsman said coldly, "I feel sick from eating so much, why should I follow you? Brat, I already told you not to get too close to a woman yesterday. You just messed around for a night, yet you think you can endure this kind of torture for the sake of being young?" Elder Swordsman said angrily, "All right. Since you have the ability, then let's see how long you can last." Clang. A rusty sword lay on the ground. An embroidered sword reminded Long Fei of a sky sword. But, different from the sky sword, when the embroidery sword was thrown onto the ground, a huge dent immediately appeared on the ground, creating a crater. How heavy was this sword? Chapter 2932 Mysterious Spring Water, Attribute Mutation. Chapter 2932 Mysterious Spring Water, Attribute Mutation. Pick it up. Elder Swordsman's eyes were extremely stern, as he shouted, one hand. With a light toss, a crater was formed on the ground. The weight of this sword. Long Fei did not dare say anything more. Elder Swordsman was very strong. If he was willing to teach, then it would be because he had earned a lot. With one hand on the sword hilt, he used his strength to lift it up. But, even if Long Fei tried his best, he couldn't. One must know that the strength of his wrist had already exceeded over 10,000 kilograms, which meant that he could easily wield a weapon that weighed 10,000 kilograms. However, this seemingly ordinary embroidered sword was actually so heavy that it was terrifying to the extreme. Over 10,000 pounds? What was this metal material made of? Even Long Fei was a little stupefied. Elder Swordsman shouted sternly, "Aren't you very capable? It's been mentioned. If you can't even lift a sword, what can you use to enter the factory sect with? Do you think that you can enter factory sect whenever you want? With your current cultivation, you don't even have the qualifications to compete in the factory sect." Elder Swordsman said heavily. Long Fei felt very bad in his heart. It was not towards the Elder Swordsman, but himself. In the past, he relied on the system for his training, but he had missed out on many things. Now, he was unable to rely on the system, and could only rely on his own strength. With a jerk of his legs, he gathered all of his strength together. The muscles on his right arm bulged, and he bellowed, "Rise." Veins popped out on his forehead. All the muscles throughout his body tensed up. The heavy sword barely moved, and was slowly being lifted by Long Fei. However, Long Fei's face was completely red, and sweat directly poured out. Even his breathing became hurried. Just a sword. Becoming like this, Long Fei had never thought of such a thing. Long Fei lifted the heavy sword. His breathing was chaotic, and the strength in his entire body was slowly running out as well. The look in the Elder Swordsman's eyes did not change, it was still stern as usual, as he looked at the heavy sword in his hands. "Just keep it that way," Long Fei said with great difficulty. "How long will it last?" Elder Swordsman rolled his eyes at Long Fei, and said, "Maintain this for 1 day and 1 night. Bam! Before Elder Swordsman even finished speaking, Long Fei's right arm seemed as if it was about to break as the entire sword fell to the ground, creating another deep crater. Long Fei was completely dumbfounded. This kind of heavy sword would not budge for an entire day and night. How much power was needed? How much endurance did he need? It was hard to imagine. Long Fei did not speak further. He once again picked up the heavy sword from the ground and used all of his strength to heavily lift it. He was panting heavily, and it was impossible to control his breathing. The Elder Swordsman said indifferently, "Cultivating the sword, training the strength first. If you can't even hold onto a sword steadily, how can you practice the sword well? Keep practicing by yourself. I'm going to find a little girl and talk about life and ideals." Elder Swordsman put the smoke gun on his back and ran out happily. Bam! In less than 10 seconds, the heavy sword fell to the ground once more. Long Fei gasped for breath, his entire body was covered in perspiration as he looked at the heavy sword on the ground, and said solemnly, "I will not believe it. Again, without the system's power, I do not believe that I, Long Fei, am useless." He once again gripped the sword hilt and held it up with one hand. Bam! Again, bam! Every time the heavy sword landed, the small courtyard would feel like an earthquake. Long Fei really wanted to know how heavy this sword was. On the first day, Long Fei persevered more and more. From 10 seconds to the last moment, his right arm was trembling and his hand was split open, unable to even lift a single finger. However, Long Fei did not give up, but continued with his left hand. Not a single improvement in a day. Sigh. Forget it, I'm too lazy to care about you. I'll continue seducing the little miss. Elder swordsman ran out with his hands behind his back. Xiao Bailang had been guarding outside the courtyard the entire time. Seeing that elder swordsman was walking further away, he ran into the courtyard and said, "Boss, could it be that this old man is messing with you? Your current cultivation level is completely incomparable to the weight of this sword. And that elder swordsman is very dishonest. From time to time, he teased that little girl on the street. I don't even like it when I see him." Xiao Bailang said angrily. Long Fei said, "He is right. I chose my own path. No matter how difficult it is, I will persevere." If he wanted to try without a system, he could also become stronger. Experience could help him level up, and he believed that he would be able to improve by relying on his perseverance. Hoo! Again! Boom! Again! Again! Long Fei fell into a state of madness. It was even crazier than cultivating. It was as though he was risking his life. Moreover, he did not use the power of true spirit, and completely relied on his own strength to continuously refine it, and to continuously stimulate the potential within his body to come out. What if he lost the system one day? He was reduced to trash. The system was his strongest power, but once that power disappeared, would he be able to continue acting so arrogantly? Although he knew that the game system would not disappear, but if cultivating like this could make him stronger, Long Fei would grit his teeth and persevere on. As long as he could become stronger, he could break his own hand without breaking it. A full half a month passed. Long Fei was barely able to stabilize his heavy sword, but it only lasted for half an hour. The entire courtyard had turned into a deep pit. Long Fei continued to persevere. A month passed. Long Fei persisted for 2 hours. The yard was gone. The entire courtyard was in a deep pit. Long Fei was also training in the ancient well. Elder swordsman was still the same as usual. He didn't pay any attention to Long Fei and continued to tease the little girl on the main street every day. Long Fei actually knew this in his heart as well. Elder swordsman had always been paying attention to him. He was clear about whatever happened to him. The second month passed. The pit immediately reached 20 meters. Spring water kept gushing out from the depths of the earth. The most important thing was, the elder swordsman didn't allow Long Fei to change locations. He could only cultivate in this ice-cold bone-piercing spring water. Fever in the body. His skin became extremely cold. However, what was different from before was that Long Fei felt that his body was being crazily absorbed by the spring water, as if the breath of true spirit was being absorbed into his body. More importantly, the water only reached his chest and did not rise any further. Another month passed. After an entire 3 months, Long Fei could finally hold onto the heavy sword for 1 day and 1 night without moving, like a boulder. Elder swordsman. I did it. Ha ha ha. I finally did it. Long Fei endured for 1 day and 1 night, shouting excitedly. Elder swordsman stood at the mouth of the well and looked at Long Fei, who was at the bottom of the well. TCH. Don't get up too. When your body is done absorbing the water, come on up. Finished. Elder swordsman found a big rock and blocked the entrance of the well. At this moment, the mountain spring water transformed into a milky white color, as if it was milk. Long Fei's entire body felt a powerful impact. His mind became tense. Before he could become suspicious, the system suddenly sounded out a system notification. Ding. True spiritual value plus 100 points. Ding. Life plus 100 points. Ding. Physical strength plus 100 points. Attribute mutation, permanent increase. This sudden pleasant surprise caught Long Fei off guard. Chapter 2933 Submission or Not. Chapter 2933 Submission or Not. The ice-cold bone-piercing spring water had all turned milky white, and a dense amount of energy was continuously entering Long Fei's body. Long Fei's body was also unceasingly and crazily absorbing this energy. The system was also beeping crazily. Ding, ding. Health point plus 100 points. Physical strength plus 100 points. True spiritual value plus 100 point. Long Fei could clearly feel the changes in his body, and felt an unprecedented impact. Because an attribute increase would only occur during leveling up. However, Long Fei had neither leveled up nor merged with special powers, so his attributes continuously increased. This feeling. Too awesome. No wonder Elder Swordsman doesn't want to change places to cultivate, so it turns out. Long Fei was extremely grateful in his heart. Elder Swordsman already knew that there was a mysterious spring water below them. Moreover, not only did he know this, he had also calculated the time that Long Fei would need. He had to say it. The Elder Swordsman is very strong, huff. Long Fei faintly exhaled, I cannot waste this Elder Swordsman's good intentions. Since this white spring water can increase my attributes, can I transform the normal practice mode to absorb even more things? Then, Long Fei sat cross-legged, held his breath, and directly immersed himself in the white spring water. General relaxation, every pore was opening up and absorbing madly. Streams of strong energy surged into his body and crazily tempered Long Fei's body. His mind, his sea of consciousness, his internal organs, and even his 4 limbs and hundreds of bones evolved from the rich energy. This feeling was even better than the attribute enhancement brought by the system. Above Long Fei. What did you do to my boss? Old man, I have tolerated you for a long time. Do you believe that the 40-meter spear will not pierce you into the sky? Hurry up and hand over my boss. Otherwise, I really won't be polite with you anymore. Xiao Bai and Bing Hua's killing intent rose. In their eyes, the Elder Swordsman was deliberately tormenting Long Fei. They were not teaching him, who would practice the sword this way. Not to mention wasting a few months of time, he hadn't even F*King learned anything. The two of them had long ago been angry in their hearts, and if it wasn't for Long Fei stopping them, they would have exploded already. Xiao Bai and Bing Hua were very clear that Long Fei's breakthrough did not only rely on cultivation, but also on killing. Elder Swordsman squinted his eyes and laughed, "Come over if you have the guts." Xiao Bai was immediately enraged. How preposterous. Roar. With a howl, his body turned into a white shadow, and instantly pounced towards Elder Swordsman. However, also at this moment, Xiao Bai's body suddenly stopped in front of the Elder Swordsman, because a cigarette gun was pointed at his throat. If it was a sword, his throat would have already been broken. Instant slay. Xiao Bai frowned, his throat became dry. He knew better than anyone else how much faster he was, but with a casual move from the Elder Swordsman, all of his power was broken. Elder Swordsman said with narrowed eyes, "Didn't you want to beat this old man up? Let's continue." Cluck, cluck. All of the bones in Xiao Bai's body exploded, as he slightly shifted backwards half a step, and once again moved, roar. Instantly, he transformed into a werewolf mode. It was a full 3 meters tall, and with a blast of its wolf claws, it slammed down with the force of a huge bear's paw. SSSSI. A series of ear-piercing explosions occurred in the air. Several cracks appeared on the surface of the wolf claw. Even the void had been torn apart. This power. Terrifying. Geezer, don't be too arrogant. Xiao Bai roared. Slap heavily towards Elder Swordsman. Elder Swordsman glanced at him, his gaze calm, and the smoke spear in his hands formed a sword move, blocking the attack. Boom. Power shot out in all directions. A series of explosions sounded out in the void. The wolf claw had only advanced half a minute, and the strong force was broken by Elder Swordsman once again. Not only that, his wolf claw also became swollen and was in extreme pain. Xiao Bai also forcefully held back. Elder Swordsman kept his spear and smoked in 2 puffs. He said lightly, "Is it just this little power? You want to touch an old man with such little power? Just want to save your boss? Naive. Taunt." With just a few casual words, Xiao Bai immediately went berserk. Not only that, ice and fire immediately flew into the air, flames billowing from his throat as he angrily spat them out at Elder Swordsman. Xiao Bai's body changed again as he directly pulled out the huge spear. The huge spear moved, and directly flew into the sky, and then, Xiao Bai's idea moved, Heavenly Wolf Star. Break. Crash. Deep in the sky, a ray of starlight shot out. Following Xiao Bai's angry shout, the starlight fell and the giant spear, as if its entire body was ignited in flames, pierced heavily towards Elder Swordsman. A pincer attack from two divine beasts. A fierce competition. Xiao Bai and Icefire were already at the Emperor Realm's primary realm according to the ranking of humans, and their powers were even more ferocious than humans. Under this kind of attack, even if it was Emperor Strongman S, they would be able to instantly kill him. However, Elder Swordsman only raised his eyes slightly. In his free time, he took a few puffs of smoke and then said indifferently, "Too weak. It's far from enough. Too terrible." Elder Swordsman said lightly. Seeing that the fireballs and giant spears were about to fall, Elder Swordsman lightly tapped on his shoes to remove the smoke coming out, then raised his eyes and lightly moved his feet. Whoosh! It was slightly spread out, and at that instant, it was as if 10,000 swords had been drawn and flapped under his feet. His entire aura had changed. It was as if he had suddenly turned into an incomparably sharp sword. It looked very normal, without any fancy moves, but the impact it gave to Xiao Bai and Ice and Fire was incomparably huge. Sword intent crushed down. His hands moved again. Buzz. 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 Several sword hums exploded as two small sword formations appeared in his two hands. Silver-white, small swords stood in the air above his palms. The fireball dropped down and his left hand moved. Buzz. It was immediately trapped by the seal, rolling on top of his palm. The giant spear fell down. Elder Swordsman's right hand moved again. Similarly, the giant spear that was 40 meters long fell right into his palm, unmoving. Xiao Bai and Fire and Ice were stunned. They were on completely different levels. The difference in power was simply too great. Xiao Bai looked at Elder Swordsman as if he was an idiot and looked at his own giant spear, but he was unable to control himself as he muttered to himself, "Isn't this too abnormal?" Elder Swordsman said, "Come on, hit me. You don't like this old man, come hit me. You want to protect that brat. You're too weak." Xiao Bai grinned as if he wanted to say something, but Elder Swordsman directly asked, "You don't accept it?" As soon as he finished speaking, the giant spear suddenly moved, whong. With a move of his hands, an incomparably sharp sword tip appeared. It pierced through the sword flowers, making people's eyes dazzle, and finally stopped between Xiao Bai's eyebrows. "Are you convinced?" Xiao Bai was shocked. Although he was unwilling, he had no choice but to say, "I admit defeat." Elder Swordsman replied, "As long as you submit. From today onwards, the two of you will cultivate by my side. You can only leave after you have the qualifications to receive 10 moves from me." Boom. At this moment, there was an explosion underground. Chapter 2934 Explosion of Level 10. Chapter 2934 Explosion of Level 10 Boom. The huge lid of the well was immediately blown apart. Elder Swordsman frowned, his expression becoming worried. He immediately looked at the ancient well, and his heart sank. "I forgot to tell that kid that we can't absorb too much spirit spring water. Otherwise, our bodies wouldn't be able to withstand it." Earth Elf Spring. The location of the dragon vein below the East Imperial City. Why is the breath of true spirit around the East Imperial City thinner than other places? This was because the underground dragon vein had absorbed all of the breath of true spirit. Initially, the reason why the prison was built here was because of the goblin dragon bloodline. Billions of years. The dragon vein absorbed millions of years of breath of true spirit and slowly formed a liquid, which was also known as the goblin spring water. These spring water were then refined and turned into a white liquid after billions of years. It was just ordinary essence. Ordinary people couldn't even bear a single drop. Long Fei had been practicing the sword for 3 months, and his body had already grown extremely strong during this process, but he was still unable to absorb much of it. It was just like a tonic. If one ate too much, they would make up for it. With the loud sound, Elder Swordsman's heart immediately sank. He felt some regret in his heart, but it was already too late. Kid. Is he dead or alive? Xiao Bai Lang and Bing were immediately rushed up. Seeing the unfathomably deep and pitch-black well, the two of them started to worry. Geezer, I know you're very strong, but if something happens to my boss, no matter how strong you are, I'll fight you to the death. Me too. The two of them did not care about all this. They would fight to the death with whoever dared to hurt Long Fei. Elder Swordsman secretly furrowed his brows. He was the most worried one, even more worried than Xiao Bai and Bing Hua, because he saw a trace of hope on Long Fei. Not against the gods' tribe. Was the hope they saw that Long Fei had the capability to become a peak powerhouse. Because of his perseverance, endurance, and his spirit of not admitting defeat, not being afraid of death, not admitting defeat. It reminded him of his own youth. Moreover, Long Fei was a good seedling. Even if he did not have any outstanding inherent skills, or extremely strong blood veins, Elder Swordsman still liked them. Only one person's perseverance could not change it. The Earth Fairy Spring was the power to change a person's talent. The Elder Swordsman just wanted to change Long Fei's talent, but maybe he was in too much of a hurry. Kid. Boss. Boss. The three of them shouted, but they did not hear Long Fei's reply. The sound echoed in the empty well. Something really happened. Am I in too much of a hurry? Elder Swordsman's heart sank. He just wanted to let Long Fei have enough strength to enter the Fatry sect, but now, was it self-defeating? Just when they were worried. Buzz. Another explosive sound. A powerful shockwave burst out from the depths of the well. Boom. When they reached the mouth of the well, a loud buzzing sound could be heard. Buzz. Another voice sounded. Another droning sound exploded from the mouth of the well. The buzzing sounds continued for a total of 10 times before it stopped. The well regained its calm. Long Fei opened his eyes, and in that moment, a sharp light flashed out of his eyes. He pressed down with his hands and gently spat out a mouthful of impure qi, and he became excited. Level 10. F***CK. This speed. It's comparable to killing 100 super bosses, right? The 10 buzzing sounds were the sounds of him leveling up 10 times. 1 rank. From the first level of the Spirit Master realm, he directly exploded into the second level of the Mixed realm. This feeling of 1 second 1 level was like playing a game of private server, so fast that it was unbearable for one's heart. Moreover, when he was immersed in the Goblin Springs, what he received was far from experience. Deep in his mind, the Spring of Life had also absorbed a large amount of energy and started to evolve. Long Fei's sea of consciousness, his limbs and bones, all of his body underwent a tremendous transformation. Especially power. In 3 months, the strength of Long Fei's arms had already reached a terrifying level. Training in the sword, first training in strength. He finally understood now. Long Fei raised his head to look at the well, and replied, I'm fine, Elder Swordsman, can I come out now? All of this was arranged by the Elder Swordsman. If he couldn't hold on any longer, he wouldn't be able to obtain this mysterious spring water that could change his attributes. Long Fei was extremely grateful. Elder Swordsman felt relieved, as if he had just put down a huge boulder. Come out, and take some goblin water for your 2 brothers to use. Hey! Long Fei looked at the dry soil around him, scratched his head and said, Elder Swordsman, there's no more. What? Elder Swordsman's chin was about to fall off. His entire head was almost stuck into the well as he said, Is there nothing else? You absorbed it all by yourself? Long Fei said, Should be. I don't know. Elder Swordsman was stupefied, his heart was surging with huge waves. Good boy, the Earth Elf spring water can be considered a god-tier all-aspect nourishment soup. 1 person absorbed the weight of 10,000 people. My God, this physical body. Seems like he has even more potential than I imagined. With this kind of body, even a normal divine-level demon beast would not be able to withstand that kind of powerful force. Incredible. Incredible. Elder Swordsman did not show it, but he was very excited. Long Fei picked up the heavy sword, leapt into the air, and directly flew out of the well. Elder Swordsman waved his hand. No need to thank me, this is all your own good fortune. Looking at the heavy sword in Long Fei's hand, he said slightly, consider this my gift to you. It's called Heavy Sword Wufeng, and I hope you can cultivate 10,000 sharp swords. Finished. Elder Swordsman picked up a stick of dry smoke and puffed with it. He looked at the broken little courtyard and muttered, sigh. It seems like we need to move. And then, Elder Swordsman suddenly paused, turned around and looked at Xiao Bai Lang and Bing Hua, and said, what are you two standing around for? Although he was unwilling, he still followed. He said to Long Fei, boss, this old man wants us to follow him. Don't worry, you will always be our boss, our hearts will always be with you wherever you go. Even if he obtains my people, he won't be able to get my heart. Elder Swordsman stared at him. What are you talking about? A cigarette gun came down. Immediately, his head was bulging with a big bag, and he had a bitter look on his face. Long Fei looked at their disappearing figures, and once again said, thank you, because Elder Swordsman was helping him train Xiao Bai, Lang, and Ice and Fire. I believe that he can give Xiao Bai Lang and Ice and Fire a strong boost in power. Huff. It's been 3 months. I wonder how they are doing. If possible, go to the factory sect 1 month ahead of time and look around. Long Fei thought as he walked out of the courtyard. 3 days later. 3 days later. Long Fei, Su Su, Lan Mai, and the others had embarked on the road to Fairy City. As for the elder swordsman, Xiao Bai, and Ice and Fire, they had no idea where those 3 Long Fei's had gone to. However, Long Fei believed that they would definitely be stronger the next time they met. Yi Mai and the 2 sisters were frantically cultivating the assassination techniques, camouflage techniques, and the illusions created by the appearance of the 2 women that were exactly the same. Long Fei was definitely going to turn them into his most powerful killers. Even if they met Powerhouse of God's tribe in the future, they could kill him in silence. Queen of Blood Moon didn't need Long Fei to explain. She was a woman with a clear goal, she knew who Long Fei's enemy was, and she knew what she had to do. On the flying shuttle heading to Fairy City. If you want to go to Factory Sect, you must first go there. Because the unfamiliar flying shuttle was unable to enter the Factory Sect, so Long Fei and the others could only land at the Fairy City before heading to the Factory Sect to register for the preliminaries. Tan Depao said excitedly, Boss, I heard that the Fairy City is at least 3 times bigger than the East Imperial City. Just how big of a city is that? Lan Mai replied, in the past, there were no Fairy Cities. Those who did not choose the disciples of the Factory Sect will slowly gather together. Time will still turn into the present Fairy Cities in East Imperial City. The proportion of warriors is only around 1/10, but in Fairy City, it is at half. It can be said to be a martial arts technique for all, Su Su said. I have always heard my father say that the Fairy City is incomparably huge, and that it has all sorts of things. Big sis Lan Mai, when the time comes, let's take a good stroll around it for 3 days and 3 nights, hey? I need all kinds of beautiful clothes and jewelry. Hearing that they were shopping, Lan Mai became excited, and said, I heard that there are some that are specially made for maintenance. Their skin is as tender as water. I don't know if that's true or not. Really? Then you must go and try. I heard that there's even a cosmetic cultivation pill specially concocted for women. A single pill would give you a year of age, Su Su said. Long Fei said, the 2 of you are still young, there's no need to go and get these things. Su Su looked at her with disdain. What do you know, women need to be well maintained. Lan Mai also said, that's right, we are young now and our skin is good, but what about in the future? What if you don't want us after you become a yellow-faced old woman? A string of black lines hung on Long Fei's forehead. The black string was enough to make a bowl of noodles. When it came to shopping, the 2 of them were like the heavens and the earth. Tan Depao looked at Long Fei with a stupefied face, and said in a low voice, Boss, have you brought enough money? Long Fei slightly said, What are you bringing enough money for? Tan Depao said, Don't you think that you 2 sister-in-law is spending all your money? This woman. It's too scary. I thought that the women of the universal realm would pursue higher things, but who would have thought that it would be the same? He began to sympathize with Long Fei a little. Long Fei laughed bitterly. Not to mention the universal realm, the women of the 10,000 worlds were all the same. However, in his previous life, Long Fei was poor and had no girlfriend at all, let alone accompanying his girlfriend shopping. It might be nice if he could give it a try. Of course. He regretted this thought when he reached Fairy City. One day later, the flying shuttle had flown for countless tens of thousands of kilometers. Long Fei even thought that the factory sect was too far away from him. This also showed just how enormous Universal Realm was. I wonder where the old headmaster's Xiao Yarrow city is? Long Fei thought about what the dean of Donghuang College had asked him to go to at the end. However, even after changing a few maps, he still did not see the location of the Xiao Yarrow city. I wonder if there is anything important. Forget it for now. It's just a sea-level mission anyway. I'll go when I have time in the future. Long Fei thought. We're here. We're here. Sister Lan Mai, quick, quick. Su Su pulled Lan Mai and rushed down the flying shuttle, as if they were going to run out of Fairy City soon. Tan De Pao looked at the dazed Long Fei and asked, "Boss, what are you thinking about?" Long Fei laughed and said, "I'm not thinking about anything. Let's go down." The huge plaza was even bigger than the airport in his previous life. As far as the eye could see, flying shuttles constantly descended and took off. The entire scene was abnormally powerful. Not far from Long Fei's flying shuttle, a gold flying shuttle landed. Under the sunlight, it was extremely dazzling. A man wearing a golden robe walked down from the flying shuttle, followed by a group of small fries. "Big brother Long Fei, hurry up." "Exactly. Don't waste our time shopping." The two girls couldn't wait. "Young master, quickly look. Beautiful girl." Suddenly, one of the lackeys rushed forward, and pointed at Lan Mai and Su Su who were not far away, and said excitedly. The young man's eyes lit up, he quickly walked forward and stood beside Lan Mai, acting as if he was 250 years old, and asked, "Two beauties, where are you going?" Lan Mai retreated back as he pulled Su Su further away, ignoring him. The man walked forward again and said, "Beautiful ladies, I am Wu Tianlong, the third young master of the Wu family. Make a friend." The two of them wanted to walk further away. However, the group of minions next to Wu Tianlong immediately stopped them in their tracks. Su Su had that kind of delinquent personality. She directly said, "Scram to the side of this, miss. I get annoyed whenever I see you. If you don't leave now, do you believe that I won't break your third leg?" Wu Tianlong laughed wickedly. "Are you going to break my third leg? You have to be on the bed, you can't stop hitting me. I wonder if you can break it." Su Su became angry. "You." Lan Mai shouted, "You better go far away, if not I will call for help." Wu Tianlong laughed. "Ha ha ha." The surrounding lackeys also began to laugh loudly. "Ha ha ha. Call for help. Shout. Shout loudly. If you can get someone, I'll eat the shit I pulled this morning. Why don't you see whose territory this is?" At this time, one of the lackeys said, "Young master, this is the flying shuttle from East Imperial City." Wu Tianlong was very unfamiliar with East Imperial City, and asked, "Where is East Imperial City? I've never heard of it." "The place where the criminals are imprisoned. The people of the East Imperial City are all descendants of criminals, and all of them are trash." Wu Tianlong laughed even more heartily than before, and said, "So it's a trash land her." While they were talking, Wu Tianlong took a step forward to attack Lan Mai, and said with a lewd smile, "Two beauties, don't worry, Wu Tianlong will cover both of you in Fairy City, and I promise to let you enjoy the food and drink the food, every day will be happy." Without waiting for him to touch Lan Mai, Long Fei said coldly, "If that finger of yours touches her, I want that finger of yours to break." Wu Tianlong raised his eyes and stared at Long Fei. It was also at this time. Su Su and Lan Mai quickly walked to Long Fei's side and grabbed Long Fei's arm. This action made Wu Tianlong extremely unhappy, and he directly scolded, "Fuck, a mere trash from the Soul Realm dares to bounce around in front of me. Beat him to the point where even his own mother can't recognize him." Chapter 2936. There is a problem with this sword. Chapter 2936. There is a problem with this sword. Beat him up. Beat him up. A trash from the East Imperial City dares to come to the fairy city? Let's find trouble. Wu Tianlong said fiercely. Others perhaps he would be a little bit more afraid. After all, there were all sorts of people in the boundless universe, so how could he accidentally offend a certain powerhouse clansman? However, in the past 100 years, there had never been a single powerhouse that had a piece of trash like the East Imperial City. Then what was there to be afraid of? Little brat, you dare act so arrogantly in front of this old man. You're courting death in your construction. Wu Tianlong looked at Long Fei with a cold smile, then looked at Lan Mai and said, "Today, I want the two of you." While they were talking, a few underlings surrounded him. He quickly surrounded Long Fei, bared his fangs and brandished his claws, waved the wooden stick in his hand, and stared at Long Fei with a sneer of disdain. "Brat, are you going to hit the wall yourself, or do you want us to do it? It's best to be more tactful and obediently kneel down. Otherwise, your ending will be even more miserable." Heh. Why don't you ask who's the boss here? Long Fei glanced at them and smiled. Still laughing? Brothers, kill him. You dog, you still dare to smile. Immediately, a few lackeys immediately rushed forward. Their cultivation bases were all Soul Realm, but they were all not higher than Long Fei by several levels. Wu Tianlong was also a Soul Realm. Soul Realm is his opponent. Forget about the soul handle, with Long Fei's current strength, he could even beat any god's elephant state martial artist. However, these fellows did not wait for Long Fei to make his move. Bang, bang, bang. 5 consecutive shot. Each hit the mouth. As the sound of his voice faded, all of them laid on the ground with their hands covering their mouths and started rolling. Black smoke kept coming out from their mouths. Tan De Pao walked out and disdainfully said, "Do you really think that trash like you would dare to provoke my boss?" Wu Tianlong's face suddenly changed, his eyes twisted, and said, "You dare make a move against my men?" Long Fei said, "We've already made our move, what's wrong?" Wu Tianlong shouted, "Do you know who I am? How dare a trash like you?" Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei's body suddenly disappeared. Pa! A resounding slap flew out. 2 large front teeth flew out. Wu Tianlong's entire body instantly turned 360 degrees in the air, and heavily fell onto the ground, his mouth full of blood. The 5 finger marks on his face were like 5 indentations on his face. It was an extraordinary amount of pain. Wu Tianlong was in so much pain that he couldn't even scream, because the more he cried, the more painful his face would be. Without waiting for him to get up from the ground, Long Fei stepped forward. "I hate hearing the word trash the most. Don't let me hear it again, otherwise, it won't be as simple as a slap." As soon as he finished speaking, with a heavy kick, Wu Tianlong flew 10 meters away. "Let's go. Go and see what is a fairy city." Long Fei smiled faintly. He was in a good mood today and did not try to kill her. The Soul Realm warriors did not have much experience to him right now. Right now, he needed 200 million experience points to level up. A Soul Realm warrior only had a few hundred points of experience points, which was not even enough to fill the gaps in his teeth. Of course, if these people were to continue being despicable, Long Fei would not show them any mercy. "Let's go. I was shopping." The 2 girls were overjoyed. After a long while, Wu Tianlong finally got up from the ground. "Kid, wait and see. Your father has 10 times the power to take it back. Just you wait." Wu Tianlong was in so much pain that he wished he were dead. "This is delicious. This looks really beautiful. Wow, Sister Lan Mai, quickly come take a look. Look at this bangle, it's too beautiful." Long Fei was very gloomy. It was very uncomfortable. He would rather go to the deep mountains in the wasteland and not sleep for 3 days and 3 nights to kill the demon beast, than to accompany the 2 of them shopping. It was really tiring. Not only was it tiring, he hadn't bought a single item after strolling around for a long time. It was simply fatal. Long Fei really could not understand, what were these girls thinking? He said it was good, then haggled again, and finally, if he was the owner of the store, he would even have the heart to kill someone. Tan De Pao also had a face of helplessness. Women are devils. Boss, don't pull me along when you go shopping with sister-in-law. I saw several romantic places on the street just now. I took a glance and saw that the girls' standards were quite high. I want to play around with them, Tan De Pao said excitedly. Long Fei said, really? Tan De Pao said, do you not know how I judge people? Just the girls who are standing outside to recruit guests already have 80 points, and the ones inside, aren't they all extremely beautiful? Tan De Pao gulped down his saliva as he spoke. Long Fei was also interested. But, all of a sudden, he felt a strong killing intent behind his back. Cannons, I can't believe you are this kind of person. Is that a place where a person can go? Can't you have some potential? Tan De Pao was completely dumbfounded. At this time, Su Su placed both of his hands on his waist, and said, Big brother Long Fei is right, we can't go to that kind of place. With that, Su Su went to pick his things. Long Fei was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. Tan De Pao was also depressed. The fairy city was very prosperous, and could be said to be much better than the fairy city. There were all kinds of shops, and all sorts of streets. There was a place specially prepared for fighters. Shongwu Street. It was one of the busiest streets in the fairy city, where the goods sold by the shops were all for use by warriors. Su Su, don't you lack a weapon? Let's go. Let's go take a look at this one. Lan Mai pulled Su Su and walked into a weapons shop called Xianwu Pavilion. It was a 6-story building and its shape was similar to that of the Yellow Crane Tower in his previous life. When he walked in, he saw that there were quite a lot of people gathered there. Most of them were preparing to enter the fairy city for the preliminaries in a month's time. Long Fei looked at the various profound weapons on the shelves, and his heart trembled. Damn, there are a lot of light weapons, they're all not ordinary. I want this demon suppressing sword. How much is it? 37 million grand mist crystals. I'll buy it. Lan Mai, Su Su, and Tan De Pao were inwardly awestruck. The price of 37 million for a single weapon was not even repaid, and they directly bought it. This weapon. The price was outrageous. Long Fei did the same, glancing at the sword, he said faintly, the sword is a good sword, it's just that the blade is a bit weaker. How would I know that? Long Fei was secretly surprised. He blurted out the words very naturally, which was very strange. The man who bought the sword stared at Long Fei and bellowed, Brat, what did you say? Is there a problem with this sword? Chapter 2937 Sword of War God. Chapter 2937 Sword of War God. He couldn't help but say it out loud. Long Fei himself didn't know what was going on. At first glance, he could tell that there was something wrong with the blade of the demon suppressing sword, as if his eyes had some sort of special attribute boost. He did not have much research on the sword Long Fei. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have been able to tell. However, ever since he started practicing with elder swordsmen, his perception had become extremely strong. It was as if every sword was a person, and he could tell with a single glance whether that person was good or bad. Long Fei's words also caused the people of Xianwu Pavilion to quieten down. An old man stared at Long Fei. One of the waiters immediately said, Brat, you can't speak carelessly. The rough man took his sword and walked in front of Long Fei, and said, I have already paid for it, the sword is mine now, it has nothing to do with Xianwu Pavilion. You said earlier that there's a problem with the sword, what's the problem over there? If you can't explain yourself today, then I won't let you off so easily. Obviously. Rough Man was in a bit of a bad mood. He had visited the demon suppressing sword more than once, and had studied it carefully. There weren't any flaws, and it could be said to be the peak grade 9 immortal weapon. There could be no problem. Su Su's gaze tensed up, and became a little worried. Long Fei was not afraid. After receiving the sword, he unsheathed the sword sheath, his fingers gently caressed the back of the sword, his eyes shut, his mind suddenly became calm. It was as if Long Fei was the only one left in the entire world. This feeling was very special. Long Fei was stunned, he actually had the ability to sense swords. Buzz. With two of his fingers, the sword swayed slightly. It produced a humming sound that was very melodious and carried a wave of demonic suppressing power. However, there was a hint of a break in the sound. See you suddenly. Both of Long Fei's fingers stopped at a certain place, his eyes opened, and he said faintly, "This sword's edge was broken, it was repaired up, and the repair was not very good. If it were an immortal weapon of the same level, it would break in one blow." The majority of the people did not understand, as they felt that he was just listening to gobbledygook. However, the old man in the corner had a glimmer in his eyes, and his expression was somewhat excited. As soon as he finished speaking, the center of Rough Man's brows twisted, and he snatched the demon-suppressing sword back. He looked carefully at the place where Long Fei had pointed to, but didn't find any trace of recovery. The waiter shouted, "Brat, how can the immortal weapons that my Xianwu pavilion has produced be repaired? Are you here to cause trouble? Do you know what kind of place the Xianwu pavilion is that can make you act so atrociously? Someone, come. Throw him out for me. Instantly." 4 men rushed out, each one of them a supreme realm peak realm. The power of Immortal Martial City was many times stronger than the East Imperial City, and the power of Xianwu Pavilion was not simple either. Tan Depao's arm moved slightly, blocking Long Fei's body, and he was ready to fight at any time. Long Fei said slightly, "Whether or not I am spouting nonsense will be known after testing." Rough Man also shouted and said, "You are right. Try it and you will know." Actually, Long Fei also wanted to know if he could truly know where the sword's Guanjian was from just a glance. The waiter said scornfully, "If you want to try, then do it, little brat, let's talk first. If you're wrong, then you will have to crawl out of Xianwu Pavilion." Long Fei said, "Then what if I'm right?" The waiter coldly snorted, and said, "Impossible, every single immortal weapon in the Xianwu Pavilion is an item forged by the servants of our Xianwu Pavilion. It's impossible for the situation you speak of to occur." Rough Man said, "Who has a level 9 immortal weapon to give it a try?" Long Fei said again, "No need for tier 9, a tier 8 immortal weapon is enough." Words did not stop there. The demon-suppressing sword was a peak stage 9th grade immortal weapon, but now, even a tier 8 immortal weapon was unable to meet it head-on. The waiter was so angry that his eyes blazed. He took out a weapon from the shelf and said, "This is a level 8 berserker sword. It weighs about the same, but its destructive power is inferior to the demon-suppressing sword." Rough Man took the berserk sword, and directly clashed with it with his hands. Clang! The demon-suppressing sword shattered. He directly cut off one section. The scene instantly quieted down as time seemed to stand still. Everyone looked at the broken demon-suppressing sword in shock. Even the waiter himself was dumbfounded. How could this be? Impossible. Impossible. Rough Man looked at Long Fei, then looked at the broken demon-suppressing sword in his hand, and said with a heavy voice, "Thank you." Then, Rough Man walked in front of the counter and threw the broken sword away. "I know that the Xianwu Pavilion has a powerful background, but if you don't give me an explanation for today's matter, even if I were to die, I will die here." His heart clenched. Actually, no one knew that he was using this sword to fight to the death. If it wasn't Long Fei, then, in the most important battle of his life, he would die. The waiter was panicking. "You said it before, this sword was bought by you, it's broken now, and it has nothing to do with our Xianwu Pavilion, so return the money to him." Suddenly, the elder in the corner walked out and said calmly. The waiter immediately lowered his head. "Yes, Elder Yi." Yi Qingshan looked at Long Fei and laughed faintly. "Little brother, your understanding of the sword is truly extraordinary. You are right, this demon-suppressing sword was indeed repaired, it was only a small gap, yet you found it." Long Fei slightly said, "I just understand a little." Yi Qingshan said, "Little brother is too modest, this old one still has a sword, I wonder if little brother can take a step forward to learn it." Right after Yi Qingshan finished speaking, Lan Mai immediately said, "I can't go." Susu also said, "If you were to smash his sword and ruin his business, would you be able to eat well if you were to enter?" Yi Qingshan looked at Long Fei, and did not force him, and said, "Because that sword is too huge, it cannot be moved here, so if little brother is willing, please take a step, after evaluating, regardless of whether or not you can appraise anything, I can choose any immortal weapon in this shop. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. The lowest grade of immortal weapons on the first level required tens of millions of grand mist crystals. This was simply a gift. All of them were extremely envious. Su Su and Lan Mai shook Long Fei's arms, signaling him not to go. Long Fei said, "All right." If they wanted to make a move on him, there was no need to hide it. Yi Qingshan smiled faintly and said, "This old one will thank you first. Follow me." Long Fei followed along and said to Su Su, "Wait for me here, I'll be right back." He followed up. The Xianwu Pavilion could be considered one of the top spirit artifact pavilion in the fairy city. All of the immortal weapons were in the hands of the master artificers that they served. If it were some ordinary immortal weapons, Long Fei would not even need to appraise them. It must be something special. Long Fei wanted to know what was so special about that sword. Following Yi Qingshan to the backyard, which was very spacious and didn't have any special places, Yi Qingshan took out a black cloth and handed it over to Long Fei, saying, "Sorry for the trouble." Long Fei was blinded. Yi Qingshan also grabbed Long Fei's hand and said, "Follow me." Suddenly, a sound was heard. Long Fei felt like he had fallen into a deep pit. However, a powerful force was holding him back. Moreover, his mind, his sea of consciousness, and any ability to sense anything had all disappeared in an instant. There must be some treasure controlling this place. After a long time, Long Fei stood on the flat ground. Without waiting for him to take off the black cloth, he heard the complaints of a few elders. "Yi Qingshan, why did you bring a stranger into this place? Are you crazy?" Long Fei took off the black cloth and looked at the huge and spacious area. A super huge sword, at this moment. Long Fei's mind was greatly shocked. Sword of War God. Table of Contents. Table of Contents, Sword of War God. Suddenly, a sound was heard. Just like before, he couldn't help but blurt out these words. Even Yi Qingshan and the other three old men were slightly startled. And then, Yi Qingshan's eyes flashed, and asked, "What did you say just now?" "His name is Sword of War God." He was covered in rust. It was hard to see its edge. It was like a rusted iron plate. However, the four old men all knew that he was no ordinary person. This was because he had been salvaged from the Sky Sea. Just salvaging it had taken him a full 10 years. It had been here for 3 years. In these past 3 years, they had constantly researched and never understood this sword. They did not even know the name of this sword. When Long Fei said Sword of War God, it caused their hearts to slightly tremble. Long Fei nodded and said, "Sword of War God." Long Fei also walked forward, his eyes looking into the cave, and a little nervous, and asked, "Can I touch him?" Yi Qingshan immediately replied, "Sure." Long Fei lightly tapped his finger on the huge sword. In that instant, his true soul burst forth, and all the energy in his body scattered out crazily. That 1 second. The sky was dark. It was a wild battle. The sea was dyed red with blood, and the sky was dyed red with the sun's rays. It seemed as if the end of the world had arrived. One of them had his armor torn open and was bleeding profusely. However, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. The sword in his hand was like a piece of straw. He dashed into a million beasts. Fight. Fight. Crazy slaughter. Hiss. In just 3 seconds, Long Fei was unable to hold on for much longer. His fingers trembled as he left the sword blade. At this moment, Long Fei was drenched in sweat, his expression tensed as though he had just come down from a battlefield. Huff, huff, huff. Huff, huff. Long Fei gasped for breath heavily. Yi Qingshan and the others looked at Long Fei, their eyes all staring blankly. They had touched the gigantic sword before, and could even be said to have touched it every day and studied it every day. However, they did not have the same feeling as Long Fei. "What did you see? Little brother, what did you sense?" The 4 old men looked extremely nervous. Long Fei took a deep breath, calmed the shock in his heart, and said, "Battlefield, it's a huge battlefield." Yi Qingshan asked, "A battlefield? What kind of battlefield?" Long Fei said, "A battle between heaven and earth, a battle that is simply impossible to win, a battle where one person can fight against thousands, hundreds of millions of beasts, this sword." Hearing Long Fei's words, the four of them were even more confused. One man against 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000. What kind of concept was this? Just what had this sword experienced? What did this person go through? No one knew. Because when was this sword created? Who was its owner? This person is too fierce. I've never thought that there would be such a powerful person in the world, war god. Absolute war god. This sword with a unique battle spirit. The soul is a god. Absorb the blood essence of billions of demon beast. If the blood essence is forged into the sword, it would also become a deity. A will to fight that surpasses all, dominating Ling Tian, unparalleled throughout the ages, definitely a sword of war god. Long Fei said solemnly, the shock that this sword brought him surpassed even the sky sword. This sword was too tyrannical. Hearing Long Fei's words, the four of them acted as if they were listening to a gobbledygook, and could not understand him at all. All of them were master refiners. After researching swords for a lifetime, their understanding of the sword even exceeded their own, but they could not understand what Long Fei had said. Battle intent, battle spirit. God. Billions of strange beast blood essence to forge swords, this. What kind of concept is this? What exactly does that mean? Little brother, can you make it easier? The four of them looked at Long Fei anxiously. Long Fei caught his breath, and said, the owner of this sword, war god's soul, is inside this sword. He is known as the battle soul. This sword absorbs billions of demon beasts' blood essence, and from a sword, it became an extremely huge sword, with blood essence forming the body of the sword. However, these are not the most important things. What is important is the will to fight of this sword. It can be said that its battle intent surpasses everything else. It can make people go crazy, and the higher the person's battle intent is, the stronger the power they can release. However, if you're not careful, you will be bewitched. Because if his battle intent reaches that berserk state, he won't be able to control it and will only be controlled. When the four of them heard this, they became even more dumbfounded. The sword that they had refined their entire lives, and it was actually such a tyrannical sword. Yi Qingshan said, then who can use this sword? If you can sense what he has experienced, then he should recognize you. Can you use it? Long Fei shook his head, I can't use it. My attainments in the sword are not at the level of a warlord. However, I believe there is always someone suitable for him. Long Fei was unable to control it. At least, he couldn't control it now, and he couldn't even hold it for 3 seconds. This was just a light touch, if it was used, not to mention whether he could lift it up. Even if he could, he wouldn't be able to control his powerful fighting spirit. If he couldn't, then it would be under the control of the sword. Yi Qingshan trembled slightly, and said, many thanks. The three looked at Long Fei and asked, little brother, where are you from? Your young age's understanding of the sword has already far surpassed ours. You can't be someone from the God's Tribe's Sword Pavilion, right? I'm afraid only the people from the God's Tribe's Sword Pavilion would be able to comprehend such a sacred art. Long Fei shook his head, I come from East Imperial City, so I am just an ordinary warrior. This sentence was very posturing. The four of them shivered. You are from the East Imperial City? No, that place. A genius like you. You came to the Fairy City to participate in this year's Factory Sect selection? Long Fei said honestly, yes, that's what I meant, but whether I can choose that one is unknown. Yi Qingshan said, Factory Sect selection is extremely strict, but with your strength, it shouldn't be too difficult. Also, his gaze couldn't help but turn towards a white-robed elder. The white-robed elder laughed faintly and said, at that time, I have a disciple in Factory Sect. With your understanding of swords, you should be able to introduce him to some of them. Your birth has to be altered a bit. After all, East Imperial City isn't favored, if it's possible for me to. Long Fei bowed and said, thank you senior, I still want to work hard with my own efforts. East Imperial City was looked down upon by Factory Sect. It could be said. The East Imperial City did not have any status in the fairy city. Only here did Long Fei understand why Yuan Ju wished for him to participate in the selection of the Fatry sect. He wanted everyone to see that the people of East Imperial City had cards up their sleeves. The white-robed old man smiled and said, "You're quite ambitious." At this moment, the space between Yi Qingshan's eyebrows tightened. "What's wrong?" Yi Qingshan looked at Long Fei and said, "The people from the Wu family are causing trouble. Little brother, your people have been beaten up." Chapter 2939 One Kick Blast Egg. Chapter 2939 One Kick Blast Egg. Where's that kid? You were so cocky at the beginning, but now you're acting like a cowardly turtle. Call him out. If we don't beat him until he's crawling all over the ground today, I'll give my surname to him. You dog. Wu Tianlong cursed and vented his anger. Very unhappy. When he returned home, he immediately brought reinforcements. If it were not for the fact that he was in Xianwu Pavilion and the power of the Empire didn't dare to move out, he would have immediately killed his way in. Useless thing, this is my territory, do you understand? Wu Tianlong stomped his feet on Tan Dapao's face, and said proudly, "Trash launcher, continue being arrogant, and shoot F*King people again. What era is it now, for you to actually train in the launcher, as expected of trash from the East Imperial City, ha ha ha." As soon as he finished speaking, many people in the Wu family burst out into laughter. The surrounding passers-by were also whispering to each other. Someone from the East Imperial City? Isn't the East Imperial City the descendant of a criminal? East Imperial City is just some trash. After all these years, we haven't heard of any outstanding powerhouse. I'm afraid there aren't even any Emperor Strongman. You're right. The people from the East Imperial City are acting so atrociously here, they really take themselves seriously. Why don't you take a look at what kind of place this is? No one sympathized. Most people were mocking and ridiculing him. It's because the East Imperial City is weak. In this world, the powerhouse was revered. Similarly, the weakest spot would be mocked in other places, just like the lower planes compared to the universal realm. Tan Dapao was firmly stepped on the ground by Wu Tianlong. Tan Dapao said fiercely, "Grandson, fight him one-on-one if you dare. Call your father over if you can't win. Is this the fairy city? Wow, he's really F*King amazing." If he was not suppressed by an old man from the Wu family, he could have pushed Wu Tianlong back into his mother's stomach. "You F*King dare to be so arrogant with your father?" Wu Tianlong's eyes turned sinister, his face turned ugly, and he kicked out fiercely, "Arrogant, continue being arrogant." Lan Mai and Su Su were also restrained, and struggled, "Stop fighting, stop fighting." However, Tan Dapao said with a look of disdain, "Grandson, just your strength is not enough to tickle grandfather." Wu Tianlong's eyes darkened, "It's not enough to tickle you, right?" Buzz. A long sword was pulled out and placed directly on Tan Dapao's neck. With a single movement, Tan Dapao's great arteries would be cut, and he sneered sinisterly, "Try again if you don't say anything else." The elder from the Wu clan shuddered slightly. The gaze of the shop assistant from the Xianwu pavilion tensed up, and he said, "Wu Tianlong, this is the main entrance of the Xianwu pavilion. If you kill anyone here, not to mention whether or not the officials will investigate, my Xianwu pavilion will definitely investigate." Wu Tianlong sneered, and said, "Your Xianwu pavilion sure has a lot to handle. It's fine as long as you aren't in your shop, but more than that, it's useless." While they were talking, Wu Tianlong stared at the nervous Tan Dapao and laughed coldly, "I beg of you, call me father. If father is happy, maybe I will forgive you and not die." "Shout," Tan Dapao asked, "What's her name?" Wu Tianlong replied, "Call me father." "Yes," Tan Dapao said, "What's your name again?" Wu Tianlong shouted, "Call me father." "Yes." "Son, what do you want me to do?" Tan Dapao laughed out loud. He was not afraid of Wu Tianlong at all. Even if the sword was pointed at him, he was not afraid. Because he is Tan Dapao. Because he never admitted defeat. Moreover, he was not afraid of Wu Tianlong's sword chopping down. He still had the battle uniform set that Long Fei had given him. "Young master, you've been tricked by him. One of the lackeys reminded. Wu Qianlong's eyes were filled with anger, and he bellowed, "You dog, go to hell." Anger soared. At the beginning, Wu Qianlong did not think about killing people, but now, he didn't care about anything else. It was too infuriating. Tan Dapao's gaze darkened as he lightly bellowed in his heart, "Battle uniform." He did not wait for him to activate the battle uniform on his body. Suddenly, buzz! A huge ice crystal arrow suddenly shot out from the Xianwu pavilion. Bam! Wu Qianlong, who had aimed for the sword, was instantly stunned. At the same time, boom! With one step, Long Fei's body was covered with a ball of dark red flames, which directly penetrated through the Xianwu pavilion's door frame and instantly landed beside Wu Qianlong. It came too fast. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. With one leg, he kicked, right at Wu Qianlong's crotch. Catcher, catcher. The sound of two eggs breaking rang out. Wu Qianlong's entire body was pushed upwards, his eyes stared angrily, and then, as if he had become impotent, he slowly knelt down. His mouth was in so much pain that he couldn't even make a sound. It was as if the surrounding people were all shocked. "Open your mouth wide." After a long time, "Ah. Aoo. Ah. Ah. Woo woo." The pain was so excruciating that he wanted to die. His two hands were tightly clutching the crotch area of the little bird. He was struggling on the ground and rolling on the ground with a pale face. Long Fei grabbed Wu Qianlong's hair with one hand and suddenly raised it, then said with a deep voice, "I said, don't let me touch it again, or else it won't be the result of a single slap." Suddenly, everything was too fast. It was fast. His hand moved quickly. A fierce force. The most important thing was Long Fei's viciousness. He was only at the 2nd level of Soul Realm and yet he managed to kill Wu Qianlong, who was at the 9th level of Soul Realm, in one move. In addition to the speed at which he went through the wall, it was simply too incredible. The surrounding people were all shocked. When Long Fei finally lifted Wu Qianlong up, the small fry of the Wu family finally reacted and immediately went up to him. "Let go of young master. Kid, are you tired of living?" All of them surrounded Long Fei, but none of them dared to move recklessly. Wu Qianlong said, half dead, "Kill, kill, give me, kill him. Third uncle, kill him. Quick." He was in so much pain that he couldn't take care of himself, but the anger in his heart didn't decrease in the slightest. His talent was average, and his potential was average. It was impossible to enter the Fatri sect, and he had never thought of entering there. He just wanted to be a popinjay and pick up girls everywhere. Second bro was probably crippled. What was the point of having second bro alive? Without waiting for Wu Qianlong to finish speaking, Long Fei's gaze locked onto a person and said, "Come over and try." Long Fei used a lot of strength and directly pulled Wu Qianlong's hair, smashing him onto the ground. Catcher, catcher. Both knees exploded. The blue stone on the ground shattered. Long Fei then grabbed Wu Qianlong's throat. Ah! Ah! Wu Qianlong was like a dead dog, trembling in pain. Wu Zhong's gaze darkened. "Kid, do you know the outcome of offending the Wu family, a newcomer from East Imperial City?" Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I don't know. I only know that people are not fierce and can't stand steadily. If others don't offend me, I won't offend them." Wu Zhong slightly said, "Then do you know who was the person you just injured?" Long Fei replied, "I don't know, but I do know one thing, he injured my brother, no matter who he is, even if he is the emperor or my brother." Wu Zhong's expression changed yet again. Suddenly, Wu Zhong's body moved, and directly landed behind Lan Mai and Su Su. The corners of his mouth raised as he sneered sinisterly, and said, "Fierce? You are still far from it." Chapter 2940 Immortal Grand Court. Chapter 2940 Immortal Grand Court. All of a sudden, a chill hit him. Long Fei's pupils suddenly shrank. Crap. The distance was too far. After 3 months of bitter cultivation, his attributes had changed, but he was still unable to rush over at such a long distance, not to mention that Wu Zhong's cultivation had far surpassed his. It was impossible to stop them. Long Fei's heart sank, and he cursed, "Fuck." Amongst the pubes, The killing sword slightly moved and roared, "If you dare touch even a single hair on their head, this daddy will definitely kill your entire family." Humph. The corner of Wu Zhong's mouth hooked up as both his hands moved at the same time, heavily striking the backs of Lan Mai and his head. F***ck. Long Fei clenched his teeth, he did not care about it anymore, and rushed out with all his might. However, too far. There was no way to stop them. It was at this moment. A resounding voice came from the Xianwu pavilion, "Stop." As soon as he finished speaking, within a radius of 100 meters, everything. It was as if time had stopped, and Long Fei himself was also being pressed down by a powerful force. He could not move at all, and could only maintain a posture of running forward. It was too hard. It was as if someone had used a body-securing technique to stop him. Wu Zhong was the same. The only difference was the power from Wu Zhong's palm shattered instantly, and his mind started to tremble as well as he stared at Xianwu Pavilion. Half a second later, everything was back to normal. Wu Zhong's body retreated slightly as his palms became powerless and struck empty air. The eyes of the surrounding Wu clan members froze. Wu Tianlong shouted, "Third uncle, kill him for me." Wu Zhong did not move again. Instead, he said in a low voice, "Let them go." The Wu clan disciples did not know how to react. "Elder, let go?" Wu Tianlong became even more furious. "You can't let go, you hurt my second brother, I want to play his woman to death." Wu Tianlong endured the pain and rushed forward angrily, however, he was stopped by Wu Zhong with one hand and said with a deep voice, "Tianlong, you cannot offend the people inside." The voice from earlier was not just an intimidating aura. There was also a sound technique. It was even a spatial type of cultivation technique, an existence that could easily suppress him, Wu Zhong, in one move. There was no reason for Powerhouse to kill anyone in this world, even the officials did not have the authority to do so. They had already shown mercy just now. If they dared to act rashly again, the entire Wu clan would surely die here. Wu Zhong was afraid that Wu Tianlong would anger that Powerhouse again, so he grabbed onto it tightly and said, "Tianlong, as long as he stays in the East Imperial City, there will be plenty of chance. Today is not the time." Wu Tianlong struggled frantically as he stared at Long Fei. He had no choice. Wu Zhong's pressure moved, and instantly crushed Wu Tianlong, causing him to faint. He looked at Long Fei seriously, and said, "Let's go." He quickly left. Long Fei's heart also relaxed, he looked at Su Su and Lan Mai, "Are you alright?" Tan Depao also crawled up from the ground and patted off the dust on his body, and said, "Damn it, if you can't win, then call yourself a senior, truly useless." Long Fei looked at Tan Depao, "Are your injuries serious?" Tan Depao grinned and laughed foolishly, "Just that kind of trash can hurt me. I'm fine." Long Fei turned around and looked at Xianwu Pavilion. Yi Qingshan smiled faintly as he walked out, and said, "Little brother is being too courteous, we just don't want them to affect our business." Although he said it in an undertone, Yi Qingshan's heart was also secretly shocked. He was even exceptionally shocked. Because no one knew who he was, and no one had ever truly seen his true appearance. Even the master refiners of Xianwu Pavilion, the elders, had never seen his face. This was the first time someone had spoken a word to save someone. Long Fei said, "This favor, this brat will remember it. If there's anything I can help with in the future, this brat will definitely give it his all." If not for someone making a move, Lan Mai and Su Su would already be dead. With their strength at a close distance, in a situation where they weren't prepared for it, it was basically impossible for them to resist. Long Fei felt a lingering fear just thinking about it. Su Su and Lan Mai's combat experience was too lacking. At this moment, the voice from the Xianwu Pavilion sounded out once again, "I have something that I would like to ask for your help with." "May I ask if you have the time?" Long Fei said, "Kid, you have time." How could he repay someone's debt of gratitude in time? Long Fei did not like owing anything to others. The Xianwu Pavilion Lord said, "All right, Elder Yi, arrange a place for them to stay." Yi Qingshan immediately nodded, and said, "Okay." At the Wu residence, a doctor walked out from Wu Tianlong's room and took a deep breath. Several middle-aged men walked up. One of them, a man with sword-like eyebrows and a domineering aura, asked, "How is my son? I have managed to preserve my lifeblood, but I'm afraid it will affect the birth in the future." The doctor's words were very tactful, but in reality, both his pills had been shattered. Fertility? I'm afraid I can't even do my personnel. Wu Tianlong also heard it and immediately let out a howl. "Ah! I want to kill him, I want to kill his entire family. Father, mother, send someone to kill him, ah!" Wu Bai's eyes became serious. "Breaking the descendants of my Wu family? Third brother, why didn't you kill him back then?" Wu Zhong immediately said, "Big brother, Xian Wu Pavilion's Grand Court has made his move." Xian Wu Pavilion? Wu Bai's face slightly shivered. He knew a little about the Grand Court, and he could not afford to offend this person. Wu Zhong said, "The one who beat up Sky Dragon has already been arranged to enter the Xian Wu Pavilion. It is not easy for us to take action now, but as long as the brat is still in Fairy City, I will definitely take revenge for Sky Dragon." Wu Bai let out a long breath, and said, "Get someone to keep an eye on that brat. This matter can take a while. I don't have hope for Sky Dragon. You should intensify your training with the Heavenly Tiger. This year, someone from our Wu clan must enter the Fatry sect." Wu Zhong immediately replied, "Yes." There was still one more month before the preliminaries, so time was tight. It could be said that all the young warriors in Fairy City were working hard for the selection competition. "Boss, what is the background of this Xian Wu Pavilion?" "I just investigated. Although the Wu family is not the strongest family in Fairy City, they are still a first-rate family, and they were scared by a shop selling weapons." "Isn't this too unbelievable?" Tan De Pao asked in confusion. Long Fei was also puzzled. Right now, he was thinking about what the Grand Court wanted him to do after all. Or was it about the Sword of War God? He had already analyzed the Sword of War God very clearly. Moreover, a person who could use that sword, unless they had extremely strong willpower, would definitely be confused by the sword's fighting spirit and fall into a demonic path. Simply put, it couldn't be used. However, if the Sword of War God was swallowed by his own killing sword. Actually, when they saw the Sword of War God, the killing sword among Long Fei's pubes started to throb. Long Fei could feel the killing sword drooling. The super battle intent of the Sword of War God, the God-tier battle soul, and the sword body made from billions of beasts' blood essence that he had absorbed, were definitely great supplements to the killing sword. However, it was impossible to give such a sword to Long Fei. The amount of time spent digging, the expenses, and his power added on top of that, the value of the Sword of War God were all astronomical. Huff. Long Fei looked at the night sky and muttered, "It's useless to guess now, we'll know tomorrow." Long Fei walked into the room. Tan De Pao's figure disappeared into the darkness. He never slept in his room. When Long Fei was sleeping, he would usually stay hidden in the shadows. The night passed silently. The next morning, Yi Qingshan sent someone to deliver breakfast, then looked at Long Fei and said, "Kid, that kick of yours is truly irritable. That Wu family disciple is already crippled," Su Su muttered. "Serves you right," Tan De Pao said. "If it wasn't for boss wanting to keep a low profile, he would have died long ago." Cough, cough, cough. Yi Qingshan began to pant, and said, "You're still keeping a low profile? The Wu family's influence in the Fairy City is not that simple. Just the Fatry sect alone has 3 Wu family disciples, and 2 of them have already stepped into the Emperor realm. The power of the Fairy City family does not depend on how many people you have, nor how much money you have, but rather, how many disciples you have in your family who can enter the Fatry sect. The more disciples there were, the higher the cultivation, the higher the status the clan held. To have 3 disciples meant that the family was very powerful, at least in the northern part of the city. The Wu family was a first-rate family." Tan De Pao and the others frowned slightly. Yi Qingshan laughed lightly. "Don't worry, right now the Wu family is fully training the disciples that will be participating in this year's selection competition. That brat Wu Tianlong is just a playboy that isn't liked in the Wu family. For the time being, the Wu family will not have time to deal with you, but you better not leave the clan easily, otherwise our Xianwu pavilion will not be able to protect him. Long Fei expressed his gratitude. Thank you, Elder Yi. Yi Qingshan laughed. Don't thank me, this is also the intention of our grand court. You guys can eat first. If it's not enough, just send someone to say it. Finished. Yi Qingshan left. Su Su muttered to herself, I still want to buy some pretty clothes today. Tan Depao said angrily, just buy it, I want to see who from the Wu family dares to come. This time, I will definitely defeat him in one shot. He expressed his displeasure. Because Zhu Tian was ambushed, adding the lack of distance, it was impossible for him to use his launcher. Long Fei said lightly, rest here for a few days and don't go out. Safety was the most important thing. Furthermore, what's the situation in Fairy City? Long Fei didn't understand it at all. Where Fu Shishan was, whether her business alliance of Fu family had made it into the Fairy City was unknown. Everything had to be done carefully. Long Fei thought, looks like I have to level up my battle uniform, if not I won't be able to rest easy with them. Tan Depao's temper was too explosive, she was about to start a fight if there was any disagreement. Lan Mai and Su Su didn't have much experience in the martial arts world, so they would easily be at a disadvantage. But no high-quality materials. Long Fei frowned. Material. It's a problem. The Sword of War God is so big, they won't be able to finish all of it. If we can use it to make a new set of armor. Long Fei was secretly a little excited. Yesterday night, he thought about that Sword of War God. He was thinking about that huge scene. Who is that man? That scene. Above the sky sea, one man against billions of strange beasts. And each beast is a peerless existence. When Long Fei thought about that scene, his mind couldn't help but tremble. It was too shocking. The first thought that anyone could come up with to deal with billions of strange beasts was to run away, but he was the one who was going to kill them all. How powerful must he be? How much experience did he have? Long Fei laughed. In the evening, Yi Qingshan brought dinner, and said to Long Fei, Grand Court has come. Long Fei trembled slightly, casually ate a few mouthfuls of rice, and said, let's go. Lan Mai and Su Su looked at Long Fei and said, be careful. Long Fei nodded his head, Ian, you guys can stay here for a few days first, cultivate properly and wait for me to come back. Following behind Yi Qingshan, Long Fei seemed to be deep in thought. In his heart, he was still thinking about that gigantic Sword of War God. Not long later, walking to a remote courtyard in the Xianwu pavilion, Yi Qingshan said lightly, wait here, the Grand Court will be here shortly. After which, he walked out of the small courtyard. When Yi Qingshan left, the door of the small courtyard suddenly opened, and an elegant man walked out. The man wore a mask, and looked at Long Fei, you're not good looking, don't mind it. Long Fei did not exchange pleasantries, and directly went into the main topic. What does Grand Court want me to do? At this time, Grand Court walked down the stairs and said, there's a divine weapon appraisal assembly today. I want you to participate in it on my behalf. Appreciating divine weapons? Long Fei tensed up slightly. Grand Court said, I saw your appraisal of the Sword of War God yesterday, not bad, it was just as you said, the name of that sword was indeed the Sword of War God. We can also call him the #1 war god of the ancient era, but he didn't stop the billions of beasts. He failed. Long Fei was shocked. He only stayed on the sword for a few seconds, only seeing a few images. He did not have the strength to see all the images. If he could see all the images, then this person's cultivation must be exceptionally strong. Long Fei said, Grand Court's taste is much better than mine, then why do you need me to fight in your place? Ha ha ha. Grand Court smiled and said, smart. This divine weapon appraisal assembly is a little special. If I make even the slightest mistake, I will die. I don't want to die. Grand Court was very direct and didn't hide anything from Long Fei. Long Fei said, seems like it's quite dangerous. Grand Court said, it could be said that it is a narrow escape. To appraise a divine weapon, you have to compare your skills and bravery. You can reject it. Long Fei hesitated for a moment, then said, you just said that as long as I win, you can agree to one of my requests. Grand Court said, Yes, as long as I can fulfill any request. Long Fei said straightforwardly, I want the sword of War God. Grand Court's eyes moved slightly. He thought for a moment and said, okay. If you win, the sword of War God will be yours. Wealth comes from danger. Long Fei needed the materials from the sword of War God. Killing Sword needs it. He also needed materials to make the armor. Moreover, appreciation of the divine weapon. Just what sort of divine weapon was it? Was it able to be ranked in the top 10 Grand Mist weapons? Many of the Universal Realm's divine weapons came from the God's Design Attic, so how could there be a person from the God's Design Attic? Long Fei also wanted to see it for himself. Chapter 2942 Selection of God's Design Attic. Chapter 2942 Selection of God's Design Attic. Appreciation of the divine weapons was not an ordinary appreciation assembly. It was a gamble. What you bet on is your ability, and what you bet on is the life of the connoisseur. A little carelessness could cost him his life. Ever since he absorbed the Earth Elf Spring, Long Fei's personal attributes had changed. He now had a lot of abilities that he did not even know about, as if he suddenly had a superpower. In addition, he had practiced the sword for a month. Long Fei held the incomparably heavy embroidered sword in his hand for 3 whole months. Every single drop of sweat, and every single drop of blood that flowed out from the gaping hole in the palm of his hand was all absorbed by the embroidered sword. This allowed Long Fei to feel the sword-intent world. To be able to see through the crack in the demon-suppressing sword with a glance, he had to only be able to see the world within the sword of War God. However, Long Fei could only do this to the sword. What if it wasn't the sword that was being appraised? Then could he appraise it? Grand Court grabbed Long Fei's arm, and then moved. Whoosh! In an instant, Long Fei was lifted up into the air, and as if space itself moved, he instantly appeared beside a flying shuttle. It was almost suffocating. Long Fei was greatly shocked in his heart. The Grand Court said slightly, the appraisal meeting is not in Fairy City, so in order to save time, we will fly over there. Long Fei looked at the flying shuttle in front of him. It was different from an ordinary flying shuttle, it was just like the flying shuttle in his previous life. As the two of them entered, Grand Court's idea activated. In almost an instant, the flying shuttle disappeared as if it had leapt through space. Seeing Long Fei's astonished expression, the Grand Court said indifferently, this is a 3rd-grade flying shuttle, its speed is 5 times that of an ordinary flying shuttle. If you like it, I can give one to you next time. A 3rd-grade shuttle. The price is 1 billion Grand Mist crystals. Long Fei laughed, then I must be alive to come back. Grand Court looked at Long Fei and said, I believe you. Long Fei said, Grand Court, I only have an extremely high appraising ability towards swords, if it is not swords. Without waiting for Long Fei to finish speaking, Grand Court said, don't worry, this time we will be appraising a sword. This sword comes from the mysterious domain, and the mysterious materials, how to refine it, and any flames, you can say that they are all unknown. Just a sword? Long Fei was slightly shocked. He had thought that divine weapons appraisal would be at least a lot of divine weapons, he did not expect it to be a weapon. Grand Court said, that's right. You must remember. People don't kill, the sword does. This sword has a special power. Once you are unable to appraise it, you may be killed by the sword. What I'm talking about is not gambling with your life, but that the sword can take your life. Long Fei nodded his head, I will remember. The shuttle flew through the clouds at high speed. After traveling for who knows how many kilometers, Long Fei felt that he was able to travel even further than he was when he met the East Imperial City. He's here. The people from Xianwu Pavilion are here. Damn, I have to wait for so long. That's right, what is the Xianwu Pavilion? If not for the Fatri sect, would he have the qualifications to participate in this appreciation assembly? Deep in the mountains, a flat ground stood a few elders, each of them wearing a mask, surrounded by a pile of ancient ruins. The ancient pillars broke into countless pieces. Under the moonlight, one could vaguely see the carvings of dragons on the pillars. The valley was very small. The ruins were only about 100 square meters in area. The shuttle stopped. Long Fei changed into a new set of clothes and also walked down while wearing his mask. The grand court of the Xianwu Pavilion is indeed extraordinary. One person made so many of us wait. I don't know who gave you face. If not for Fatri sect, you wouldn't even be qualified to participate. Cut the crap. He's just looking to die anyway. Don't tell me he's able to appraise that holy artifact with just his smithereens. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Many of the people around started to laugh, as they were slightly displeased with Long Fei's arrival. Long Fei was not in a good mood as he said in a deep voice, "May I ask what time is the appointed time?" A person said, "It's Z." Long Fei asked, "Then what time is it now?" Another person looked at the sky, "Hai Wu." Long Fei swept his eyes over those people who were sneering just now, and immediately scolded, "It's not time yet. What are you laughing at? Your grandmother's legs? Did this daddy make you wait? F***ck. He immediately cursed furiously. The surrounding people were stunned. They stared at Long Fei with anger in their eyes. The grand court in the dark also shivered slightly. Long Fei did not care about anything much. Not to mention, he was not Long Fei, but Grand Court. Xianwu Pavilion Master, I'm afraid you don't want to leave this place alive today? A small weapon seller. You're pretty unreasonable, aren't you? I'm giving you face, aren't I? Arrogant in front of us, don't you know who you are? Long Fei swept them with a cold gaze, and said, "Are you still appreciating it? If you don't want to appraise, then I'll leave first." He turned around and was about to leave. Cough, cough, cough. Wait. At this time, an old man walked out from the darkness. Seeing the old man's surroundings, everyone shivered. Their eyes revealed respect, not daring to say a single word. The old man looked old and his eyebrows were raised on his face. His face was full of wrinkles. He walked to the middle and said, "Since everyone is here, let's begin. This divine weapon is different from the others. He has an extremely strong self-defense awareness. If you are not careful, you will lose your life. You should be careful." The people around him said, "Don't worry, we will definitely do our best. There is no divine weapon that I cannot appraise. Even if there is a God's tribe divine weapon, I can appraise it. The appraisal is out. Can we really enter the God's design attic? Or was it just a joke?" Hearing the 3 words God's design attic, Long Fei's heart suddenly sank, and he thought to himself, as expected. The Sky Sword Spirit had said before, that if he wanted her to revive, he would have to go to the God's design attic, find the heavenly mystery and let him reforge the Sky Sword's heart. Long Fei had always kept this matter in mind. However, the universal realm was vast and boundless. There were many places that he didn't even know how to go to. Now, finally, he had an idea. The old man nodded his head and said, "The rules of the God's design attic have always been like this. This is the topic of entering the God's design attic this year. Whoever can appraise it will have the qualifications to enter the God's design attic." Everyone's eyes lit up. God's design attic was the ranking list of the universal realm's divine weapons. It was also the origin of divine weapons. The rankings of the universal realm's divine weapons were all planned out by the God's design attic. In addition, the God's design attic also had the strongest divine Grandmaster blacksmith in the world. The supreme existence. Even the God's tribe did not dare to look down on the God's design attic. If one could enter the God's design attic, this would be the ultimate dream of every artificer. Even the God's tribe would think highly of him. That was their goal. It was also the goal of Xianwu Pavilion. "All right, let's begin," Old Man said lightly. "Everyone, leave it to fate." Chapter 2943 Life-Threatening. Chapter 2943 Life-Threatening. Old Man slowly retreated a few steps. And then, 4 young men dressed in God's design attic clothes walked out and stood in 4 different directions. Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, Black Tortoise. The 4 stood still as the Azure Dragon moved first. The breath of true spirit on its body continuously condensed and gathered in the air above the center of the empty space. The Vermilion Bird followed closely behind and poured into the breath of true spirit. White tiger. Black turtle also started to move. The four powers gathered together and formed a spirit whirlpool. The four of them muttered to themselves. Suddenly, the four of them exerted their strength in unison. They pressed their hands together and directly hacked the ground. The ground formed an electric net, and the lines of power not only shot out. Buzz. A droning sound filled the air. Ancient runes began to appear on the surface of the ground. It was like a gigantic seal spell. The dust on the ground slowly disappeared, and the entire seal appeared. The crowd continuously retreated, revealing astonished expressions. No one would have thought that there was actually a seal array beneath their feet. What was even more unimaginable was that the divine weapon they wanted to appraise was right under their feet. They thought it was a divine weapon brought by the god's design attic. Long Fei's heart tensed up. This rune. Why do I feel that it's a little familiar? You've seen it there. In the end, where did I see it before? Could it be that it's from the memories of the seal again? No. Suddenly, Long Fei's pupils constricted. The idea moved and directly entered the god's tribe's space ring, that huge coffin. The runes on the coffin are somewhat similar to the ones on the ground. The azure dragon pulled the coffin. That coffin was extremely important to him. After Black and White had killed him, the coffin had fallen into Long Fei's hands. However, he still didn't know what was in the coffin. He dared not open it. The aura inside was too terrifying. Even the current Long Fei did not dare to easily open it, as if the end of the world would befall upon him if he did. Even though it's different, it's about 80%. The runes on the coffin are a bit more complicated, but it's not hard to tell that this definitely comes from a seal faction. Long Fei muttered in his heart, the runes on the ground are extremely huge, and the runes on the coffin are very low, but they are all over the coffin. Boom. Without waiting for Long Fei to ponder over the matter, the ground shook vigorously. The ground began to shake. Next, the center of the seal began to bulge, slowly. The seal cracked. Buzz. The sword light shot out, and a huge force swept out. Boom. Rumble. Extremely powerful. The surrounding people were all shaken and took a few steps back, as though Long Fei himself was about to be blown away. If not for him hugging a large tree tightly, he would really have been blown away. Looking at Long Fei's displeased expression, many of the people around started to sneer. You are appraising a divine weapon like this? A godly weapon was sent flying before it could even come out. Why are you still trying to appraise a hammer? Exactly. Just you want to enter the god's design attic. Are you qualified? Long Fei did not say anything. He scolded in his heart. Damn, you are all royal realm, emperor's realm, or even higher. I only have soul realm. If it was an ordinary astral soul realm martial artist, he would have already flown over 100 meters away. A sword light shot out in all directions. The ground cracked. In the end, in the blink of an eye, a sharp weapon pierced through the earth and floated in midair. Buzz buzz buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. Sword chimes rang out in all directions, causing the entire valley to tremble. It was as if the entire world had fallen into this sword hum. The long sword that was floating in the air was also spinning non-stop, and trying to struggle free from the restraints of power. The four disciples of the god's design attic were sweating profusely, not daring to relax. If their power was relaxed, this sword could instantly fly out. He formed a seal with one hand. Boom. The four of them roared and released all four of their powers at once. That sword also slowly calmed down. The sword gleams and sword hums gradually quieted down. Everyone then heaved a sigh of relief. The old man said, "You only have 2 hours. Once time has passed, it will have to return to the seal. Who's going first? Only one of you will be able to enter the god's design attic." As soon as he finished speaking, immediately, an elder stepped forward and said, "Let me do it. Sea Training Pavilion, Pavilion Master Hai Lian, you are only one step away from the divine level in artifact forging. He's the strongest person in the Sea Tempering Pavilion for the past 1,000 years. A genius refiner. No one here is simple. If one wanted to appraise a divine weapon, the most important thing was to understand smithing. Only a master refiner would be able to understand a divine weapon and appraise a divine weapon. Moreover, the first to go up had a huge advantage, because once he succeeded, he would be able to enter the god's design attic. The appreciation assembly ended early. The pavilion master walked forward, unperturbed and calm as she approached the bronze longsword. Huff! The pavilion master heaved a sigh of relief as she closed her eyes. It's starting. Spirit of ocean refinement. It's the unique sensing ability of the sea tempering pavilion. No divine weapon can escape its sensing ability. I heard that the Sea Refinement Pavilion's pavilion master used 100 years and never stopped refining artifacts to refine a single strand of the sea refinement spirit. He has a sea refinement spirit that I have never been able to appraise. Looks like we're going to catch a cold. Before he could finish his words, the pavilion master's eyes suddenly opened wide in anger. Her pupils dilated and her body trembled slightly before she stood there unmoving. What's going on? What happened? Pavilion Master Hai Lian. At this moment, Long Fei suddenly said, dead. Everyone looked at Long Fei with expressions of contempt. What do you know? It's only been a few seconds. Pavilion Master Hai has yet to perform. Xianwu Pavilion, please go to the side and cool down. He mocked her ruthlessly. The corner of Long Fei's mouth drew back, his arms crossed over his chest as he sneered. At this moment, the old man said lightly, Pavilion Master Hai Lian, failure. Take them down. Everyone's face turned gloomy, and Long Fei's eyes became gloomy. Is he really dead? He wasn't sure. He had only sensed it mentally, but he hadn't expected. It's only been a few seconds. Go up and die. How did he die? The bronze sword did not move at all. It was dead in an instant, and the surrounding people were all dumbfounded. The old man said indifferently, if someone wants to leave, it's still possible for now. Don't wait until later before withdrawing. Then it's too late. Exit what? This old man will definitely not quit. What's the sea tempering pavilion? I don't think he died from appraising, but from scaring himself to death. Finished. A man with a domineering aura walked forward. Lei Gang's artifact forging pavilion. Pavilion Master Lei Gang. He exuded a strong aura as he strode forward, his eyes focused on the bronze sword that was floating in mid-air. He roared, I'd like to see what kind of sword you are. He did not use the idea to sense it, but grabbed it with one hand. At this moment, the other half of his arm was directly shattered from the impact. Blood gushed out madly as his enormous body was blasted away. Bam! Bam! Smashing into a tree, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale as a sheet and cold sweat trickled down his forehead. Looking at his shattered arm, he exclaimed, My hand, my hand. Ah! Miserable screams of pain rang out. To a refiner, losing a hand was equivalent to losing his or her life. No matter how strong a refiner was, it was impossible for them to forge a weapon with a single hand. The pavilion master screamed. Everyone was dumbfounded. Previously, he did not know, but he thought that the god's design attic was scary. Some of them had ugly expressions on their faces, as well as fear in their eyes. However, these people did not bother about Lei Gang, but stared fixedly at the bronze sword. Long Fei walked over to the side of the pavilion master Lei Gang and lightly said, Endure it. He sprinkled some hemostasis powder on his wound, took out 2 heal pill and said, I can help you stop the pain. Pavilion Master Lei Gang said with gratitude, Thank you. Long Fei said, You're welcome. I want to know what you felt the moment you held the bronze spear. Pavilion Master Lei Gang looked at Long Fei and said, The power of explosion. The power of explosion? Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Pavilion Master Lei Gang said, The power of the explosion caused my arm to explode the moment I grabbed it. Xianwu Pavilion Lord, do not appraise it. That bronze long sword is too strange. He now understood why the Pavilion Master Hai had suddenly died. The power he felt was different from the one sensed by Pavilion Master Lei Gang. Long Fei frowned, everyone has sensed different powers, if the Pavilion Master did not touch them, she would have simply used her sea refining spirit to sense, and died suddenly. When Pavilion Master Lei Gang tried to sense it with her hand, she immediately blew off an arm. Seems like this sword is really different. Long Fei raised his eyes and looked at the bronze sword that was floating on the ground not far away. Facing the sword of War God, Long Fei could immediately tell that Long Fei had called out its name, but he could not say anything about this bronze sword. Moreover, he couldn't sense anything. Long Fei seemed to have disappeared because of his own special ability. Old Man slowly said, "You still have a chance to choose. You only have one life, I hope you can cherish it." A middle-aged man stepped forward lightly and said, "Allow me." Now, everyone knew how powerful this bronze sword was. It would take a person's life, but no one gave up. Fighters have their own goals. Becoming a descendant of God's tribe meant obtaining the power of the ancient inheritance. Similarly, refiners also had their own goal, which was to enter the God's design attic. Retreating might seem simple, but to an artificer, it might end their advancement and even become a knot in their heart, making it difficult to break through in their entire lifetime. Some things had to be done. Everyone looked at the middle-aged man with cautious expressions. Huff. The man walked forward and said with a faint voice, "Come." Finished. The breath of true spirit on the man's body suddenly surged. Rumble. Rumble. The flames immediately began to roll up. The flame moved and wrapped around the bronze longsword. The man's eyebrows tightened as he shouted, "Merge." At this moment. Rumble. For no reason at all, the middle-aged man suddenly caught on fire. He immediately cried out and rolled down from the altar. Ah! Ah! Before he could last 10 seconds, his corpse turned into a pile of dust. Die. Another refiner fell. He died for no apparent reason. He didn't even know how he died. Everyone's face once again tensed up. Many people began to tremble and no longer dared to advance. This bronze sword was too savage. He was definitely a ferocious soldier. "Any higher and you will die." Sigh. Old Man let out a soft sigh and muttered, "Looks like there aren't any outstanding refiners this year." 3 people went on stage. 2 died and 1 was injured. No one dared to try. The only result of trying was death. Old Man took a few steps forward and said, "Cultivation is not easy, but the path of artifact forging is even more difficult. I think we should end it here today, and go back to cultivate more." Half the time passed. The refiners at the scene were all frightened out of their wits. It would be a waste of time to wait any longer. "All right then. This is too difficult. It's really difficult. My cultivation is still not enough. What exactly is this godly weapon?" Seeing the old man speak, they also followed suit and walked down the stairs, not daring to try again. At this moment, Long Fei took a few steps forward and said, "I want to give it a try." "Huh." Old Man turned his head to look at Long Fei, at the symbol on Long Fei's clothes. The symbol of the Xianwu Pavilion. He was also the representative of the fairy city, and because of the Fatri sect's recommendation, the Xianwu Pavilion was qualified to participate in this evaluation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the qualifications to be here. "You. What ability does Xianwu Pavilion have?" "That's right, I've never heard of forging such a powerful weapon. The Xianwu Pavilion is here to join in on the fun. Going up is suicide. Brat, you should calm down a little. With your ability, what can you do?" "There's nothing you can do. If we can't do it, how can a mere Xianwu Pavilion like you do it? Why don't you take a piss?" "What the hell is that?" Xianwu Pavilion was looked down by others. Every single refiner here had a greater influence than the Xianwu Pavilion, and they were naturally displeased to see that Long Fei wanted to go up and appraise them. Long Fei smiled, and said, "Xianwu Pavilion is indeed not much. In the eyes of many master refiners, it is nothing, but I will quickly give it a try. What about you two? Go ahead. Go if you have the guts. If you want every one of them, then shut up. If you don't dare to go, then stop being cocky in front of Lousy. Tell Lousy to take a piss. Why don't you guys take a piss and take care of yourselves? You don't even dare to try. What use can you possibly have? Not a shred of face. Moreover, while Long Fei was speaking, He had already walked up the altar and looked at the bronze sword floating in the air. A few of the elders were extremely furious by what Long Fei had said. "Kid, who do you think you are? Do you think you have the right to mock us? Younger generation member, you are truly arrogant. I shall see how you appraise it." Just when they were about to mock Long Fei's right arm moved. Wang. The power that came from practicing the bladeless heavy sword surged. The muscles of his entire arm tensed up, nearly bursting out of his sleeves. Pavilion Master Lei Gang said loudly, "Brother, be careful of your hands exploding." With a flick of his right hand, he directly grabbed it. However, at the same time, Long Fei's state of mind instantly became tranquil. There was not the slightest bit of a true spirit movement, nor was there the slightest bit of a idea refining. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The bronze sword suddenly let out a sword hum. The restrained sword gleams suddenly exploded out as if they were out of control. Long Fei did not move. At this moment, in his world, what he held in his hand was not a sword, but a dragon. Chapter 2945, Zhen Shulong Sword. Chapter 2945, Zhen Shulong Sword. It was not a sword, but a dragon. The ancient dragon was incomparably malevolent, its entire body suffused with a bronze color. Both dragon eyes stared at Long Fei. Strangely, Long Fei was not afraid, his heart did not have any fear at all. Jiyu Long stared at Long Fei and said, "Are you not afraid of me?" Long Fei said indifferently, "Don't be afraid." Moreover, he did not say it because he still felt a sense of familiarity. It was as if they had met each other before. Jiyu Long looked at the youth in front of him, his eyes slightly narrowing. He wanted to see through Long Fei, but he couldn't see through anything, and only muttered softly, "Strange, I'm a Zhen Shulong sword that guards the underworld. No one can control me, unless it's..." Suddenly, the pupils of the two giant glass-like eyeballs rapidly contracted as the tyrannical domineering dragon power crushed them. Boom! It poured down onto the top of Long Fei's head. However, it didn't have the slightest effect. Very strange. Jiyu Long's face lit up with excitement. You are, Master." A Zhen Shulong sword could also be said to be a seal dragon sword. There were a total of 9 of them, guarding the various realms of the primordial era. At first, when the ancient world was first established, the first world that was born was the universal realm. However, when the foreign realm's destructive powerhouse poured in, the universal realm could not withstand the pressure and was about to collapse. At that time, a single person carrying 9 swords entered the Grand Mist space. Suppressing the outer space powerhouse, Seal was within the primordial special domain. This bronze sword was one. However, time flew by. It was unknown how many years had passed. He thought that the entire world would forget about him, but once again, he felt that incomparable closeness. Long Fei was a little confused. "Master? Black and white, what exactly is going on?" Long Fei's first thought was black and white. According to the black and white words, he was the former number 1 of the ancient world in his past life, and was also the former number 1 powerhouse. It was just that he did not know what happened afterwards. The black and white eyes slightly opened as they let out a long sigh. "Zhen Shulong sword." Long Fei was secretly shocked. "Fuck, so it really was you. What does this sword have to do with you? Why is he a dragon?" Black and White said, "At that time, when the universal realm was just being nurtured, with chaotic laws and chaotic space and time flow, there were always outer space powerhouses, strange beasts, and demons invading, affecting the reproduction of the ancient world. At that time, I was also very angry, and turned the 9 dragons of the dragon race into Zhen Shulong sword, and used the ancient power to guard the 9 dragon sword in the primordial 9 regions, blocking the chaotic space entrance as well as causing all the demons that entered the universal realm to be placed within the special domain of the universal realm. Originally." At this point, Black and White suddenly choked up. This surprised Long Fei. The Black and White gave him the impression of being arrogant and unbridled, of being able to kill gods and Buddhas, never regretting or giving any leeway out. But now he was choking, and it was surprising. Sigh. Monochrome let out a long sigh. I was suppressing a alien fiend, but I forgot about the 9 of them. If you hadn't encountered them, I probably wouldn't have even thought of them. They've suffered. Black and White said softly. Long Fei was shocked. His mind spun as he flew, then he said to Jiu Long, you guys have suffered greatly. At that time where you were beaten into 9 Genshulong swords to suppress the 9 realms of Hongmeng and the demons of another realm, to let you stay in this dragon sword for your entire life and for all eternity, guarding the evil waters of the deep mountains. It's been hard on you all. As soon as he finished, looking at the teenager in front of him, he could not believe it, but he had no choice but to believe it. Because this was his master. The Genshulong sword growled, Master, you finally came. What are you saying? I didn't suffer at all, but you. In his heart, his master was a supreme existence. Even if they refined their bodies into 9 dragon swords and guarded the 9 realms, they would not regret it. After countless years of waiting and waiting, to be able to see his master again was enough for him to wait another 10,000 years. Is that kid dead? She is motionless. Didn't she just die like that? Even if he doesn't die, he won't be too far away from death. How much time is that? No reaction at all? Hey, boy, how are you? Several master refiners began to discuss among themselves. The God's Design Attic was a little excited and said, Don't talk, quiet down. He looked at Long Fei, his eyes shining. Long Fei's performance had shocked him beyond belief. What was this sword? In fact, the God's Design Attic had a record, but it had not been confirmed yet. This was a topic for the God's Design Attic, and was also what the God's Design Attic Lord meant by master. He wanted to confirm whether this ancient bronze sword was the same as the records, or not. An ancient sword forged by a divine dragon? Long Fei simply could not hear the sound of the outside world. He was currently in the world of Genshulong sword and he was very surprised. Master, why did you become like this? Could it be that the ancient Ashura's abyss hasn't been repaired? Those alien demons have entered the ancient world. I don't understand, there are so many big worlds outside of ancient world that can enter, why did you choose to enter one of them? At that time, the ancient world was just born and didn't hide anything. Why did it become like this? Could it be that the ancient world you mentioned is really hiding some kind of divine treasure? All his memories stopped at several trillion years ago. At that time, it could be said to be a state of chaos. Hearing his words, Long Fei's heart secretly shivered. Ashura's abyss? Black and White, what kind of place is that? Monochrome did not speak. What did you experience? You said that the ancient world has some sort of divine treasure. What exactly is it? Long Fei asked curiously, but the Black and White did not answer him, and unavoidably said unhappily, so boring. Weren't you suppressed by the repression of boundary stones? Could it be that there is another story behind your death? Rub. Black and White, you'll die if you say something. It was so urgent. Regarding the matters of that era, Long Fei was only curious about it, that's all. Black and White, Black and White. He was him. He was completely different from the Black and White. After a long time, Black and White then said, You will know about this in the future. Damn you. Long Fei disdained, turned and looked at the Genshulong sword, and said, What do we do now? Are you coming with me, or are you staying here? The Genshulong sword immediately became excited, and said, Master, can I go with you? Long Fei said, It's up to you. If you want to stay here, I won't force you, if you are willing, you can also come with me. The Genshulong sword immediately said, I will go with you. Chapter 2946 Demon Person Attacks. Chapter 2946 Demon Person Attacks. No way. Just as the Genshulong sword agreed, Black and White let out a heavy sound to stop her, the primordial 9 territory. The first realm had a set of Genshulong sword, and it was used to suppress demons from another region. Once the Genshulong sword leaves, the demons from this region will definitely break out of their imprisonment. Long Fei immediately interrupted, Don't make these useless things for me. None of my business. You said it yourself, I will walk my own path. Wanting to ascend to the heavens or walk into hell is my business, so I have made the decision. Actually, it was only because Long Fei heard that the guardian beast was a foreign devil that he let the Zhenshulong sword follow him. Think about it. A alien fiend. This was definitely a super huge boss. How can we kill them if we don't release them? How could it explode? How do I level up? Furthermore, the universal realm was too calm under the pressure of the gods' tribe. She could not jump up and down at all. How could she do that if she did not find something for the gods' tribe to do? Long Fei wanted the universal realm to become chaotic, because that was the only way to benefit him. The more chaotic and powerful the situation, the more heroes would emerge from it. If he wanted to defeat the gods' tribe, then he would have to destroy everything in front of him, and not be reborn in the ashes, and die in the ashes. In the Primordial 9 territory, the 9 Zhenshulong sword had all left their guarding grounds and caused this universal realm to become chaotic. Black and White said solemnly, I know what you're thinking. I had the same thoughts as you, but in the end, it was still. Long Fei interrupted once again, you are you, I am me. I am different from you, and my life is also different from yours. My character is better than yours. No matter how Black and White tried to stop him, Long Fei would not stop them. Black and White let out a long sigh. However, I'll go first with the obscenities. When the time comes, if you need my help, I will absolutely not help, and will tell you. This is your own path. Long Fei said, if you want help, you did not help. My own path, I'll walk it myself. Immediately, Long Fei said to the Zhenshulong sword, okay, I will take you away. And then, Long Fei grabbed the sword hilt and pulled. Buzz. The 4 gods' design Attic-S were instantly sent flying. Their minds were damaged and their faces turned pale. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. Long Fei woke up from the world of the Zhenshulong sword, and said to Old Man while looking at him, this sword is called the Zhenshulong sword. It was created by suppressing the demons in the western regions during the ancient times. As for his material, divine dragon body, Old Man tensed up. The surrounding people began to laugh. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I thought you were amazing, but I didn't expect you to be so mediocre. Nonsense. Just bullsh *t Zhenshulong sword? I'm even guarding the heavenly sword. Ancient time? Could the swords of ancient times still be left here, deep in the mountains, undiscovered? You must have a screw loose. Forged from the body of a divine dragon, what kind of divine dragon is it? Who could turn him into a sword? Didn't you want to enter the god's design attic and go crazy? Nonsense. Everyone started to mock him. What Long Fei had said was impossible for artifact forging. Forging a sword out of a divine dragon? A divine dragon scale could create a divine sword that was 10 times bigger than this bronze sword. Yet, a divine dragon body could create such a rusted bronze sword? This wasn't the way to brag. No one would believe it. However, Old Man laughed, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Good. Good. All right. You're right. As soon as he finished speaking, those people who had mocked Long Fei earlier were all dumbstruck, standing there as straight as wood, not moving an inch. Under their masks, it was as though their faces had been ruthlessly slapped. Elder, that's impossible, right? How could an ancient sword be here? This place is barren and filled with evil, filled with thorns and brambles. It's not like this is some kind of precious land. How could it be planted here? Moreover, to forge such a small sword out of the divine dragon's physique? This is also impossible. Everyone was puzzled. The old man did not explain and said, the ancient powerhouse is much stronger than we imagined. We cannot think about the ancient powerhouse with our current understanding. Xianwu Pavilion, you have passed the examination. Old Man walked in front of Long Fei and retrieved an ancient-looking order badge from his bosom. The order badge was engraved with 2 words, Heavenly Mystery, and he handed it over to Long Fei. The surrounding people stared blankly, drooling as they stared at the command token. In the dark, Xianwu Pavilion was also shocked. He did not expect this to happen. Never would he have thought that Long Fei actually succeeded. He had really succeeded. He was extremely excited. He knew clearly in his heart that obtaining the God's Design Attic's command medallion was equivalent to stepping into the heavens for any artificer. Long Fei was representing him, which meant that he would bring the God's Design token into the God's Design Attic, and he would soar to the sky with a single step. This feeling was as if he had suddenly ascended into the sky. Long Fei looked at the God's Design token, received it with both hands, and said with a heavy voice, "Thank you." To him, this order badge had no special meaning, it was just a simple order badge. As for entering the God's Design Attic, he did not want to forge artifacts for the rest of his life. His goal was also not to refine the holy artifact. However, he wanted to go to God's Design Attic, so he asked, "Senior, I don't know how to go there yet, do you have a map or something?" He didn't dare to say the heart of the heavens out loud. The sky sword, primordial first sword, was not something he could casually say. Old Man laughed faintly, "Ha ha ha. The map is inside the order badge, go back and carefully study it, and explain everything that needs to be done, then come to God's Design Attic." Long Fei looked at the God's Design token in his hand, "It's in the order badge?" He couldn't help but feel nervous. He knew that this order badge was going to be given to the immortal Marshal Grand Court. I wonder if he is willing to give it to me for a few days. Even if he was unwilling, Long Fei would not do anything. This was something that he had promised Xian Wu Pavilion. Just as Long Fei was thinking about this, TSK. Ah, ha, ha, he. The sound of the devil weeping suddenly came from all directions. Countless powerful auras came crashing down on the valley one by one. The whole valley was suddenly invaded by the devil auras. Old Man frowned, "Not good. Magic tribe." Those weapons craftsman masters all became even more panicked and began to tremble in fear. Buzz. Boom. Once the purple-colored red flames heavily fell down, it seemed like a ball of bloody mist had exploded. It landed beside Long Fei and laughed sinisterly, staring at him, hand over the Genshulong sword. Red-hair demon dweller. The aura on his body swirled, and his true soul had a powerful corrosive force. It was incomparably powerful. An unshakable power. Chapter 2947 One Sword, / Chapter 2947 One Sword, / The sudden attack caught everyone off guard. Moreover, this divine weapon appraisal assembly was a very mysterious event, and very few people knew about it. Therefore, they didn't defend against the demon dwellers. Even Old Man didn't have time to react when it appeared in an instant. Long Fei frowned, and tightened his grip on the Genshulong sword. This was his sword. How could he give it to someone else? Old Man said in a low voice, "Red Devil Lord, this is God's Design Attic's assessment and selection. Aren't you looking down on my God's Design Attic by doing this?" God's Design Attic? What is it? The red-haired demon dweller's eyes turned sinister as he stared at Old Man. Under his robes, his hands started moving. Long Fei immediately cried out, "Senior, be careful." The red-haired demon dweller's pupils shrank and in a flash, he turned into a red vortex of blood mist. Soon after, a series of giant palms came out from the vortex. Bam! Bam! Bang! 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 Blood splattered everywhere. The blood mist became even more scarlet, and the vortex suddenly stopped. There were over 100 bloody palm prints on Old Man's body, and all of the bones in his body were messed up. His face was pale. Crack! Crack! Crackling sounds came from within his body as he collapsed to the ground. Dead. Too fast. Old Man's cultivation was at least above the Emperor realm, but if he was killed instantly, the Red Devil Lord would not be able to describe it. Red Devil Lord directly smashed Old Man's head apart with a single kick and icily asked, "God's Design Attic? What bullshit is this?" It was also at this time. For disciples of the God's Design Attic also instantly rushed over. Master! Master! The four of them moved at the same time and summoned their weapons, booming towards Red Devil Lord at the same time. The cultivation levels of the four were also Royal Realm S. If they worked together, Emperor Strongman would probably have to dodge, but he did not even look at them. Shua, shua. 4 consecutive sounds rang out as 4 scarlet soul-locking hooks shot out from the darkness and landed squarely on the necks of the 4 people. Crack, crack. 4 heads flew into the air, blood spurting from their mouths. Those weapons craftsman masters were so frightened that their bodies were trembling and their lips were trembling. A few of them were so scared that they almost peed their pants. Red Devil Lord walked in front of Long Fei and immediately lifted Long Fei's mask and flew away. Looking at Long Fei's young appearance, he was slightly shocked. I thought it was an old man, but I didn't expect it to be a youth. That's right. To be able to pass the God's Design Attics examination and pull out the Genshulong sword, you must have some outstanding points. Red Devil Lord laughed. Brat, I give you a choice. Hand over the Genshulong sword and take me as your master, and I can spare your life. Before he could finish his words, the master refiners eagerly said, hurry up and give him the sword. Brat, you aren't Xianwu Pavilion Lord at all. Who are you? It's not important who it is now, so hurry up and give him the sword. Did you hear that? Give him the sword. All of them were extremely afraid of death. Long Fei looked at Red Devil Lord and said indifferently, and if I don't give it to you? Not giving. The Red Devil Lord laughed sinisterly. His 5 fingers slightly spread out as he abruptly clenched them. Bam! The head of a master refiner suddenly exploded. Unfathomable. This power was so strong that he couldn't understand it at all. Red Devil Lord said, Brat, do you think you have a choice? Either die or accept my request. Long Fei was completely unable to release his idea. How many people were there in this valley? I don't know. Long Fei said, if you want me to hand over the Genshulong sword, then I can, but this sword is used to guard the underground demons. What do you want him to do? Red Devil Lord said, seems like you know quite a lot. Ah. Correct, it is used to guard the underground demons. As for what do we need it for? That's not something you can know. Hand it over. Then, kneel down and kowtow to acknowledge me as your teacher, and your little life will be saved. The surrounding master refiners trembled in fear as they asked, Honored Devil Lord, what about us? We are innocent. We didn't do anything. Red Devil Lord was a little impatient, he said in a deep voice, so noisy. Swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. A dozen hooks shot out in an instant. Bang, bang, bang. Just like a human head harvesting machine, all the heads of the equipment forgers flew out and blood sprayed out from their bodies. They were all powerhouses above royal realm. He had no power to retaliate at all. Long Fei's expression turned sinister, but soon after, the corners of his mouth lifted as he laughed. I hate people who threaten me the most, and furthermore, unless I don't want what's in my hands, it can't be in someone else's hands. Red Devil Lord smiled faintly, and said, seems like you choose to die. What a pity. What a pity. I, the Red Devil, have not taken a fancy to a single disciple for over 10 years, but to think that right now, I would actually choose to die. Sigh. It seems like my Red Devil is destined to never have a disciple ever again. The Lord stared at Long Fei with his cold eyes. Soul Realm was too terrible, so he said, die. As soon as he finished, the blood mist suddenly condensed and engulfed Long Fei. Long Fei moved and shouted, Mongoose. Buzz. Blood Cloud's black robe had exceptionally cold eyes, but his eyeballs had turned into kaleidoscopes. He formed a seal with his hands, so fast that it was impossible to see them clearly. At that moment, buzz. A stream of blood shot out. In that moment, the aura on Red Devil Lord's body suddenly stopped, and the blood mist surrounding Long Fei also dispersed. Long Fei let out a long breath as he looked at the Universe Weasel and then at Red Devil Lord. At this moment, Red Devil Lord took out his sword and extended it towards his neck. Illusion techniques? Long Fei didn't know. However, the Weasel's power was too strong. In just a moment, Red Devil Lord was trapped in an illusion. Long Fei bellowed, damn it, you want me to die? Who is dead now? The Weasel's illusion technique was too awesome. Moreover, with 100% loyalty level, he would be able to unleash his full strength without holding back. However, One weakness was that the weasel was not at its peak state. Long Fei could vaguely sense the aura from the weasel's body. Rumble. 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 Suddenly, a huge bloody cow rushed out of the darkness, completely out of control. At the same time, soul-locking hooks shot out one after another. Long Fei was shocked. Damn it. After all, he was only a character that had been summoned, he didn't think too much about it. The main target of his illusion technique was the Red Devil Lord, while the other demon dwellers in the forest were slightly stunned and didn't stay there for too long. As the giant blood-colored bull broke through the illusion, the demon dwellers quickly attacked the weasel. Holy **T. Without caring about that, the idea moved and immediately summoned the weasel back. It was also at this time that the Red Devil Lord was in a daze, looking at the sword on his neck. At this moment, his aura, strength, defense, everything about him was still an illusion. Opportunity. Long Fei moved his right hand. The heavy sword has no edge. One strike. Kill. Swish. His figure was like a sword, his sword images were like lightning. It was as if Long Fei's entire person had pierced through Red Devil Lord's body, and a thin line of blood appeared between Red Devil Lord's eyebrows. His eyes widened. Body. It slowly slid down and split in half. And at this moment, the system sounded out. Ding. Chapter 2948, Divine Techniques. Chapter 2948, Divine Techniques. It was the first time that the heavy sword had been unsheathed. The first time was slay. In that moment, Long Fei felt as if he had turned into a stream of sword intent that directly penetrated Red Devil Lord's body. It was too shocking. He had always thought that the elder swordsman letting him practice the sword was just to increase his strength and perception. However, he had never thought that other than these, there was also the sword intent. Of course. This was also because Red Devil Lord was confused by the weasel's illusion techniques and his attributes were all 0. Otherwise, no matter how strong Long Fei's sword intent was, he would not be able to harm Red Devil Lord. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Red Devil Lord for obtaining 500 million experience, 1000 true chi points, and 1 universal value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the dragon subduing hook. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining powerful diamond ultra magic pill. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the demon soul umbrella. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, level 3 soul handle. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at the 4th level of the astral soul realm, 2 levels consecutively increase. There was only one word to describe the feeling. Awesome. Damn, what level is this guy at? Yet another 500 million experience points. Isn't this a little too terrifying? Long Fei was secretly pleased. He never thought that a boss would have so much experience points. I always thought that it was difficult to level up Universal Realm, but it seems that leveling up isn't too difficult, as long as I can kill all the super strong powerhouse. Long Fei became excited. However, after instantly killing the Red Devil Lord, Long Fei did not dare to stay any longer, and rushed into the depths of the valley. Everyone from God's design attic had died. All the weapons crafting masters who had come to take the test had also died. What was the situation of the immortal martial grand court? Long Fei didn't know. However, he couldn't care so much now. After killing the Red Devil Lord, how could the demon dwellers let him go? Sir High Lord. Third brother. Red Devil. In the forest, seeing the Red Devil's body split into 2, those demon dwellers couldn't react for a moment. Furthermore, the teenager was only at Soul Realm's level of cultivation. How was this possible? If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Boom. Boom. The 2 demonic phantoms descended and stood beside Red Devil Lord. Looking at their bodies that were split into 2, the devil flames on the 2 of them were like a volcano that erupted, roaring towards the sky. Ah! Ah! Find him. I want to cut him into 10,000 pieces. Boom. Rumble. The sound wave was like a wave. The demonic flame churned and quickly spread out. One of the demon dweller's eyes flashed with a blood-red light. He turned around and stared at a certain direction, over there. In that instant, dozens of demonic shadows shot out from the forest. He moved as fast as lightning. The strangle emitted a cold light, appearing especially sinister under the cold moon. Hoo 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 hoo. Hoo 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 hoo. Long Fei used all of his strength and increased his speed to its limit. Looking at the devil flames surrounding his body, his heart sank. Damn. The devil's flames entangled them, which meant that they had already discovered their position. However, Long Fei was not in a hurry. Looking at the mountain body not far away, he laughed deeply and thought to himself, "Capture this, Daddy. In the next life. There it is. Chase. Quick, quick, quick." Several demon dwellers appeared behind Long Fei, their throats locking onto him. Shua. It pierced through the night sky and headed straight for Long Fei's throat. Long Fei moved, Annie rode. Whoa! When Annie rode landed, the golden rod in his hand moved slightly, 1,000,000 volts of electric shock. Crack! Bam! A bolt of lightning struck the hook, the electric current quickly pierced through, and the demon dweller's body twitched a few times before falling to the ground. Another notification rang out in Long Fei's mind. Ah! Seeing another demon dweller fall, the demon was enraged. Useless trash. Boom. Mount Tai was about to burst apart as it took a step forward. With a leap, he instantly landed behind Long Fei. Both of his palms moved, and shouted out loudly, "Brat, go and die." The earth shook like thunder. All of the devil flames in the forest instantly gathered onto his two hands. This palm. The power was simply too great. As long as it hit, even if Long Fei had 0 HP, he wouldn't be able to stop it. Quick, quick, quick. Long Fei felt the incomparably strong power behind his back, and his heart became even calmer. No. Too late. The power of Grand Mist. Open for me. Buzz. 100 universal value for 1 point of universal soul, and the universal soul transformed into energy, suddenly exploding on Long Fei's body, as though it was a Hongzhong condensed from energy, protecting Long Fei's entire body. There was no time. His speed wasn't fast enough at all. He could only use the universal soul to block this palm. Bam! The palm struck down and a powerful shockwave exploded out. All the trees in the valley shook and the leaves flew all over the sky like snow. The defensive power that was converted from universal soul shattered. Long Fei's entire body sank as he scolded angrily, F***CK. Not to mention the fact that he had exhausted all of his universal soul, even his own body was sunken and his internal organs seemed to have flipped over. Long Fei forced himself to hold back. The devil's eyes were filled with shock. He didn't die. The anger in his heart grew even higher. His palms moved again. Let's see how many moves you can block. Another palm attack came. This time, it was even more ferocious. At this time, Long Fei was no longer able to use the universal soul, and even if he could, he would only be able to use half of his strength. At this moment, Long Fei suddenly stood still, his mouth raised in a cold smile. "If you want this daddy's life, there is still a long way to go. You're still pretending when life and death are at stake." The demon's eyes looked as if they were about to spew fire. The devil flames on his body descended together, like an angry lion. He stared at Long Fei and smashed his palms together. "Die." Long Fei laughed. "Too weak." The idea moved. Snapshot step. Open. His body suddenly changed, and he instantly dove into the mountain. Long Fei then quickly teleported out of the mountain. Rumble. 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 A massive explosion shook the skies, nearly causing half of the valley to collapse, but it did not hit Long Fei, nor did it kill him. At this moment, the demon was completely dumbfounded. Looking at Long Fei, who had disappeared into thin air, he was unable to react in time. Boom. Boom. With just a thought, it had spread out to a distance of 100 kilometers. There was no sign of Long Fei in this range. Long Fei. He disappeared into thin air. F***CK. Damn it, it was close to killing me. Luckily, I have Cayenne's snapshot step, otherwise my life would have ended here. Long Fei was wandering inside the mountain. It was very relaxed, very cozy. However, Long Fei never lost out. Chapter 2949, Gates of Hell. Chapter 2949, Gates of Hell. Long Fei almost died. He was extremely unhappy. You want my life? You want to steal my things? MMP. Long Fei said fiercely. According to the system's description of the snapshot step, he could traverse the mountain for 5 hours. As long as he did not go out, no one would be able to find him. Snapshot step was simply a heaven-defying escaping technique. Invincible state. Unless there was someone who could destroy the entire mountain range in one move, Long Fei would not die. Find it for me. Search carefully. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you have to find him. As the demon said this, his senses continued to expand as he searched again and again. But he just could not find Long Fei's aura. He wouldn't be able to find it either. However, what he did not know was that Long Fei was inside the mountain in front of him. At this moment, Long Fei drooled, his eyes glowed, wishing that he could swallow the boss whole. It's too tempting. 500 million experience points is too tempting. Gudong. He was someone who would not be able to move even a single step when he saw a boss, causing Long Fei's brain to fly into the air. If I use it again. It's a pity that the weasel is on cooldown. If I can use his illusion technique to attack again, the power of the heavy sword, edgeless, will be able to explode once more. No rush. No rush. People who do important things have to be patient. I have plenty of time. At this time, the demon dwellers were on full alert. In this state, whether it was their strength or defense, they were all exceptionally sharp. If they did not succeed, Long Fei would probably die. He was like a cheetah hiding in the dark, quietly observing its prey while it waited for its fatal strike. Lord, High Lord. I've already searched every corner of the valley, and I didn't manage to find anything. Without waiting for the small fry to finish speaking, Purple Devil Lord immediately shouted, search him again. It's impossible for him to escape with his cultivation. He's definitely still in the valley. The small fry didn't dare to say more and immediately said, as you command. Another demon walked up and said, second brother, that brat is very strange. He must have an escape treasure on him. I think we should leave. We have reached the mission given to us by the sect master. The Genshulong sword must have left the seal. Purple Devil Lord said solemnly. Big brother, third brother, he. The great demon said, I also feel terrible about third bro's death. But don't worry, I will definitely take revenge, and you have heard what they said at the beginning. That brat is the representative of the Xianwu Pavilion. Once we go back to the sect and check, we will know what kind of place the Xianwu Pavilion is. Hearing that, Long Fei's heart tensed up. Seems like none of them can return, or else Xianwu Pavilion will be in danger. I wonder how Grand Court is doing. The killing intent in Long Fei's eyes became thicker, and he muttered to himself, could it be that their mission is to let the Genshulong sword leave? It seems like there is something strange under the sealess. I wonder if my snapshot step can dig into the ground. I'll give it a try. Long Fei moved his body and immediately dove deeper into the ground. What surprised him was that there were no restrictions at all, allowing him to drill even deeper. Then, Long Fei took out the Genshulong sword and said, Dragon sword, bring me to your seal. I want to see what kind of demon there is. Genshulong sword said, understood. The Genshulong sword moved to point the direction, and Long Fei immediately followed. He continued to dive deeper into the ground. After half an hour, the Genshulong sword stopped and said, Master, this is the place. This was a huge, spacious area. It was like an underground cast cave. Long Fei walked out from within the mountain, and the system also sounded out a notification sound. Ding. System notification. The duration of the snapshot step has ended. As long as Long Fei left the 3 bodies, the duration would end. Only when Long Fei looked at the cooling time of the snapshot step, he became excited. Cooldown complete? Ha ha ha. I know, as long as I use the skill, it will be in the middle of a cooldown. It has already been half an hour, so the cooldown has naturally ended. Awesome. Long Fei was a little excited as he looked at the big door in front of him. To be more accurate, it was facing the ground. The door was upside down. It reached a height of 30,000 meters, extending all the way down into the depths of the earth. 4 words were carved on the heavy stone gate. These 4 characters were not ancient characters, nor were they talismans. They were just ordinary words. Those who enter will die. Long Fei looked at the dragon's sword floating beside him. Didn't you say that you can charge out after leaving the demons inside the seal? The Genshulong sword said, that is indeed the case, but I have yet to leave the valley. I will only leave this seal valley after I leave it. And so much time has passed, it's hard to say if these suppressed fiends are still alive or not. It had been too long. In 1 trillion years of time, let alone a human, even a god would probably die of old age here. No matter what race they were, their lifespan was not limitless. It was the same for the alien fiends. Tens of millions of years of time, it was truly too long ago. Long Fei looked at the huge inverted door and asked, "Can you open the door?" The Genshulong sword trembled slightly, and said, "Master, do you want to open it? What if the demon inside is still alive? Then." The Genshulong sword didn't dare to guarantee. However, he had seen the monsters from the other realms rampaging about the universal realm. It could be said that half of the universal realm were destroyed by those demons, and their faces looked as if they were about to crack. They only had one goal: destroy. Long Fei looked at the door and said, "I want to go in to take a look." The Genshulong sword said, "Master, this is too dangerous. If an accident happens, then I'm afraid." Long Fei looked at the door to hell, giving him the feeling that once he opened the door, blood would surge out from the inside, but he really wanted to open it. Long Fei said, "I still want to go in." The Genshulong sword said, "All right, since Master wants to go in, I'll open it. I am the key to this door." There are also 8 other places in Universal Realm. The other 8 Genshulong sword are also keys. While they were talking, the Genshulong sword flew out and directly flew into the abyss. Half a minute later, he heard a loud catcher sound, Ka, Ka, Ka. The door to hell slowly opened. After a long time, with a clang, both stone doors opened. At the same time, the entire mountain range started to shake, constantly shaking, and rocks began to fall down. The demon beastess within the mountain, no matter if they were gigantic super monster S or low-level demon beastess, all of them crawled on the ground and trembled, constantly releasing terrified low roars. 10,000 birds flew in fear, and the crowing of crows could be heard for hundreds of thousands of kilometers around as though it was the end of the world. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.